Kid, where do you think you're going? Caleb Rourke stepped in front of her and shoved her back from the elevator. You picked the wrong place to steal. People like you don't walk into a hotel like this unless they're looking for something to take. The words cut cleanly through the lobby of the Hamilton Crown Hotel. Maya Williams stopped with one hand still near the brass elevator button. For a second, the whole room seemed to keep moving around her as if nothing had happened. Glasses clicked near the bar. Men in dark suits murmured about donors and Senate votes. A woman in pearls laughed softly beside the fireplace. The concierge kept typing. The pianist in the corner did not miss a note. But Maya heard everything. She heard the insult. She heard the shove in his voice before she felt the shove in her body. She heard the judgment already passed before a single question had been asked. She was 29 years old, small in frame, wearing a black wool coat over a cream dress wrinkled from a long day of work. Her heels were low, her hair was pinned back, and on her shoulder hung an old brown leather bag her father had given her years ago. There was nothing loud about her, nothing flashy, nothing that announced power to a man who only recognized power when it came with a motorcade, a badge, or a white face. Caleb Rourke saw what he wanted to see. He stood broad and heavy in front of her. 48 years old, silver at the temples, a security earpiece curled against his cheek. His name badge read C. Rourke, Director of Security. He carried himself like a man who had spent too many years confusing command with law. Maya looked at his badge, then back at his face. I'm scheduled to speak upstairs, she said. Her voice was level. My name is Maya Williams. I'm expected in the ballroom on 12. Caleb's eyes traveled over her coat, her dress, her bag. He gave a short laugh. You're expected upstairs? Yes. To speak? That's correct. Got proof of that? My assistant has the updated credential. My phone is having trouble loading the QR code. You can call the event desk. You can call Senator Whitmore's staff. You can call Secret Service. They'll confirm my name. The mention of Secret Service should have slowed him down. It did not. His jaw tightened instead. Maya saw the shift. It was small, but she had spent her life reading rooms full of powerful men. Caleb had not heard a solution. He had heard a challenge. Behind him, the executive elevators gleamed under warm hotel light. A brass sign beside them read, Private Event Access. Two older couples waited nearby, with navy lanyards hanging from their necks. One gray-haired man looked at Maya, then looked away. A woman in a red coat clutched her purse and stared at the floor. Maya noticed them all. She was supposed to be upstairs. If a diplomatic gridlock hadn't blocked her staff car, she wouldn't have walked through the front doors alone. Her assistant was already in the 12th floor ballroom, waiting for Maya to deliver the keynote address on ironically private security accountability. But here in the lobby's cellular dead zone, her phone was frozen on a spinning QR code, and the man in front of her had already decided that her skin was the only credential that mattered. That was the whole truth. Caleb had not asked for it. Call the event desk, Maya said. My name is on the list. I'm not calling anybody until I know who I'm dealing with. I just told you who I am. You told me a story. Maya held his stare. Then verify it. His mouth hardened. We had a theft complaint tonight. Jewelry missing from a VIP suite. We were told to watch for suspicious individuals near restricted areas. What makes me suspicious? You're standing where you don't belong. The sentence landed with deliberate weight. Maya did not flinch. She had heard cleaner versions of that line in committee rooms, law offices, hotel lobbies, court corridors. Sometimes it came dressed as concern, sometimes as policy, sometimes as security. Tonight, it came bare. I belong at the event upstairs, she said. You can verify that with one call. I don't take instructions from you. I'm not instructing you. I'm asking you to confirm my identity before accusing me of theft in front of a public lobby. Caleb stepped closer. Watch your tone. My tone is calm. Your attitude isn't. Maya understood then that facts would not reach him. Not yet. He needed fear, apology, confusion. She gave him none of it. Am I being accused of a crime? She asked. You're being asked to cooperate. Cooperation does not mean surrendering my rights. The lobby grew thinner around them. Not quieter exactly, but more watchful. The bartender stopped polishing a glass. The concierge's fingers slowed over the keyboard. One of the older men by the elevator shifted his weight, but said nothing. Caleb touched the radio on his shoulder. "I need 2 by the executive elevators." Maya remained still. 2 additional security officers approached from near the concierge desk. One was young and nervous, eyes moving quickly between Caleb and Maya. The other kept his face blank. "Mr. Rourke," Maya said, reading the name badge again. "This is unnecessary. Contact the event staff. Step away from the elevator." "I'm standing still." "Your bag." "No." His eyes sharpened. "Excuse me? This is my personal property. I do not consent to a search." Caleb raised his voice. "She's refusing to cooperate." The phrase was not meant for her. It was meant for the room. It was the first sentence of a report he had already begun writing in his head. The younger guard reached for the strap of Maya's bag. Maya did not jerk away. She did not twist. She simply held the strap where it rested against her shoulder. "Do not touch my bag," she said. Caleb moved fast. He seized her upper arm and turned her from the elevator. The grip was not a request. It was control. Maya let her body follow the force rather than fight it. She knew the rules of survival in moments like this. No sudden movement. No raised hand. No anger they could photograph and rename. "I am not resisting," she said clearly. "Down," Caleb ordered. "I am not resisting." "Down." He forced her toward the marble floor. Maya bent because his weight gave her no choice, but she did not struggle. Her knees touched the cold stone first, then one hand. Her bag slid forward on her shoulder. Caleb moved behind her, pressed one heavy hand against the back of her neck, and drove her lower until her cheek was inches from the polished floor. A sharp breath moved through the lobby. Maya kept her palms open. Caleb locked her shoulder with his other hand, pinning it hard enough to make the joint seize. His knee came down beside her hip, trapping her in place. He leaned his weight through the base of her neck like he wanted the entire room to understand who had power and who did not. Maya did not buck. She did not curse. She did not plead. Her voice stayed calm, even with cold stone beneath her and a man's hand holding her down in front of strangers. "My name is Maya Williams," she said. "I am scheduled to speak upstairs. I am not resisting. I am requesting your name, your position, and the reason for this detention." Caleb bent close. His breath was hot near her ear. "You're smart," he muttered. "I'll give you that. But smart won't get you out of this hotel." Maya stared at the floor. The marble was so polished, she could see a broken reflection of the chandelier above her, the red coat of the woman near the fireplace, the dark shoes of the man who had looked away. Her shoulder burned under Caleb's grip. His palms stayed planted at the back of her neck, but inside her, something had gone still. Not weak, not broken. Still, the fear had passed through and left behind a colder thing. Her mind began arranging the facts with the precision that had carried her through Harvard Law, the Justice Department, and the West Wing. Time: approximately 7:38 p.m. Location: Hamilton Crown Lobby, Executive Elevators. Primary actor: Caleb Rourke. Director of Security. Witnesses: older couple with navy lanyards, woman in red coat. Bartender, concierge, 2 responding guards. Cameras: dome above concierge desk, elevator camera, jewelry store camera angled toward lobby, possible hallway camera near service entrance. Statement by Caleb: "People like you." Accusation: theft. Force used after refusal to consent to search. No resistance offered. A lawsuit was not born in rage, not the kind that changed institutions. It was born in memory, in sequence, in details no one could deny later. Caleb thought he was pressing a powerless girl into the floor. Maya Williams was already drafting the first page of a $7.8 million civil rights case in her head. Caleb Rourke kept Maya pinned long enough for the lobby to understand the lesson he believed he was teaching. Not long enough to look like a beating. Not long enough to alarm the wealthy guests into open objection. Just long enough to turn a woman into an example. "Secure the bag," he said. The younger guard hesitated. Caleb looked up without lifting his hand from the back of Maya's neck. "Now." The guard reached down and slid the brown leather strap off Maya's shoulder. Maya did not grab for it. She did not turn her head. Her palms remained open against the marble. Fingers spread, every movement disciplined, every breath measured. She felt the loss of the bag more sharply than she expected. It was not the contents. It was what the bag meant. Her father's hands had touched that leather. His pride had lived in it. Caleb took it as if it were evidence of a petty crime. "I do not consent to the search or seizure of my property," Maya said. Caleb gave a short, humorless laugh. Listen to her. She's got the words down. She has been calm the entire time, someone said. The voice came from near the fireplace. Female, older, controlled, but shaken. Caleb turned his head. "Ma'am, step back and let security handle this." The woman in the red coat said nothing else, but Maya marked the voice. Witness. Older woman, red coat, standing east side of lobby near fireplace. The young guard placed Maya's bag on the floor near Caleb's foot. The second guard moved closer, blocking the view from the bar. That was deliberate. Maya saw the polished black shoes come into position and understood the purpose immediately. They were building a wall of uniforms around a lie. Caleb finally removed his hand from her neck and pulled her up by the arm. He did it quickly, not enough to throw her, but enough to make her stumble one half step before regaining balance. Maya straightened her coat with her free hand. Her face remained composed. Only her eyes had changed. They were no longer asking him to be reasonable. They were recording him. "What is the legal basis for detaining me?" she asked. Caleb leaned close. "The basis is that I said so." "That is not a legal basis. This is private property. Private property does not erase civil rights." His face tightened. The younger guard looked down, uncomfortable. The older guests by the elevator stared at the brass doors as if the elevator itself had become fascinating. "You hear that?" Caleb said, turning slightly to the room. "She walks in here with no credential, refuses to identify herself, refuses a bag check, then starts giving a lecture." "I identified myself," Maya said. "You refused to verify it. You gave me a name and asked you to check it. You think I'm stupid?" Maya held his stare. "I think you made a decision before asking a question." For a moment, Caleb's mask slipped. It was not confusion in his eyes. It was offense, not at being accused of wrongdoing, but at being named accurately by someone he thought should be too frightened to speak. He pointed toward the rear hallway. "We're going downstairs. I am scheduled to speak upstairs. You're not going anywhere near that ballroom. Then call Secret Service." "I don't need Secret Service to remove a suspicious person from my lobby." Maya turned her head slightly toward the concierge desk. "Sir, please call the event desk. My name is Maya Williams. I'm expected by Senator Whitmore's office." The concierge, a young man with perfect hair and a hotel smile that had vanished, froze behind his terminal. His eyes flickered to Caleb. Caleb snapped, "Do not touch that phone." The concierge's hand stopped. The entire exchange took less than 2 seconds, but it told Maya everything. Caleb had been offered verification again. In front of witnesses, he had refused again. In front of witnesses, that refusal mattered. The second guard stepped in. "Mr. Rourke, maybe we should just check the list." Caleb turned on him. "You want to run this scene?" "No, sir." "Then move." The guard moved. Maya felt the lobby watching, but not helping. That silence had its own temperature. It was colder than the marble. A few phones were lifted now, half hidden near coat sleeves and cocktail glasses. Others turned away, choosing comfort over conscience. Maya did not blame every frightened face, but she would remember the room. Rooms had character. Some resisted injustice, some decorated it. If you feel for Maya in this moment, if you believe she did not deserve to be treated this way because of how she looked or the color of her skin, please hit like to stand with Maya and comment where you are watching from, your city, state, or country, because there may be someone near you watching this story right now too. Caleb took her arm again. "Walk. I will walk voluntarily," Maya said. "Do not pull me. You lost the right to give conditions." "I have not lost any rights." He pulled anyway. They moved past the concierge desk toward a service hallway beside a tall arrangement of white flowers. The smell of lilies mixed with floor polish and expensive perfume. Maya walked upright, controlled. her pace steady even as Caleb's grip tried to hurry her into looking disorderly. She refused to give him the image. Behind her, the woman in the red coat spoke again, softer this time. "She told you her name." Caleb did not turn around. "Ma'am, stay out of it." Maya looked briefly toward the ceiling as they passed beneath a black camera dome. Camera 1, concierge angle, likely wide lens. Then another above the elevator bank. Camera 2. Then the jewelry boutique on the lobby's far side, its glass display cases glowing under white light. A small camera inside the store pointed diagonally through the open entrance toward the lobby. Camera 3. Possible external ownership. Harder for hotel to erase. Caleb pushed open the service door. The warmth and music of the lobby dropped away behind them. The hallway beyond was narrow, beige, and fluorescent. The carpet changed to rubber flooring. A sign read, "Authorized personnel only." Somewhere below, an ice machine hummed. Maya's phone vibrated in the hand of the young guard. He glanced down at the screen. Caleb saw him look. "Don't answer it." "It keeps ringing," the guard said. "Then let it ring." Maya knew who it was. Evelyn. Probably frantic now. Upstairs, the ballroom clock would be moving without her. Senator Whitmore would be leaning toward her staff, asking where Maya was. The introduction would have been delayed once, then filled with polite remarks, then delayed again. A room full of people waiting to hear Maya speak about abuse of private security authority had no idea that the very subject of the evening was unfolding beneath their feet. They reached the service elevator. Caleb jabbed the button with his thumb. Maya said, "I am again requesting that you contact event staff, Senator Whitmore's office, or Secret Service." "You done?" "No. You should be." "I want the record clear." Caleb smiled faintly. "There is no record back here." Maya looked at the camera in the upper corner of the service hallway. "There is always a record." His smile faded. The service elevator opened with a dull mechanical sound. Caleb guided her inside, the two guards following. It was not a guest elevator. The walls were brushed steel, scuffed by carts and luggage racks. A faint smell of bleach and old coffee hung in the air. The doors closed. For the first time since the lobby, the four of them were alone. Caleb stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Let me explain something to you. This hotel has senators, judges, donors, and foreign officials upstairs tonight. My job is to keep people like you from creating problems." Maya looked directly at him. "People like me?" The young guard shifted. Caleb realized the phrase, "too late," but pride made him continue. "Unverified people." Maya looked directly into the camera lens in the corner of the elevator, then back at him. "So, to be clear for the record, Mr. Rourke, a citizen providing their legal name and requesting official verification is what you define as suspicious behavior?" Caleb's jaw flexed. "You refused a bag search. That's non-compliance." "I refused an unlawful search on private property open to the public," Maya corrected, her voice dropping to a dangerous, clinical whisper. "There is a distinction. I suggest you learn it before the doors open." The elevator descended. Maya could feel each floor pass in the pressure of the machinery. Caleb's anger needed noise, but Maya gave him none. His authority had expected friction. Her stillness made him look rougher by contrast. The doors opened into the basement level. A corridor stretched ahead, lined with storage rooms, staff lockers, and framed safety notices no guest would ever see. The glamour of the Hamilton Crown had disappeared completely. Down here, the hotel was pipes, concrete, fluorescent light, and people paid hourly to keep the marble upstairs shining. Caleb marched her toward a glass-walled security office. Inside were monitors, radios, a metal desk, and a half-empty cup of coffee. A box of powdered donuts sat open beside a keyboard. On one wall hung a printed memo, "VIP Jewelry Incident. Heightened awareness near executive access points." Maya read it as Caleb pushed open the door. Heightened awareness. There it was. The polite phrase that gave men like Caleb permission to trust their prejudice and call it instinct. He pointed to a metal chair. "Sit." Maya sat. Calmly. Deliberately. She placed both hands on her knees where everyone could see them. "My phone and bag were taken without consent," she said. "I am being detained against my will. I have identified myself and requested verification. You have refused. Caleb looked at the younger guard. Write down that she remains argumentative. Maya's eyes moved to the desktop monitor, then the radio console, then the red digital clock above the cabinet. 7:04, 6 p.m. She repeated the time silently. The younger guard held her phone and bag as if they had grown heavier on the walk down. The phone vibrated again. This time, the screen lit clearly enough for Maya to see the caller ID from across the room. Evelyn Brooks. Caleb saw it too. For the first time, uncertainty crossed his face. Maya did not smile. She did not warn him. She had given him too many chances already. Caleb reached for a blank incident form and uncapped a pen. Maya watched the first lie begin to take shape on paper. Suspicious female. Refused to identify. Attempted access to restricted floor. Non-compliant. Her attorney's mind arranged the future in quiet sequence. Preservation letter. Security logs. Witness statements. Phone records. Elevator camera. Concierge camera. Jewelry store footage. Radio traffic. Incident report. Prior complaints against Caleb Rourke. Hamilton Crown training policy. Pattern and practice. Caleb thought bringing her downstairs had removed her from public view. He had only moved her closer to discovery. The security office was colder than the lobby, not because of the air conditioning, though that hummed from a ceiling vent with a tired mechanical rattle. It was colder because nothing in the room had been designed for comfort. The walls were pale gray, the chairs were metal, the light was flat and unforgiving. On the monitors, the hotel appeared in fragments. A silent hallway, a service entrance, a loading dock, an elevator bank, the edge of the lobby where wealthy guests moved through gold light without knowing how different the same building looked below them. Maya sat in the chair Caleb had pointed to and kept her hands visible on her knees. The young guard placed her leather bag on the desk. He set her phone beside it, screen facing down, as though the ringing had become something shameful. He was nervous now. Maya could see it in the way he shifted from one foot to the other, the way he would not meet her eyes. Caleb was not nervous. Not yet. He stood over the incident form, writing with hard, angry strokes. "What's your date of birth?" he asked. "I am not answering questions until you verify my identity with the event staff or Secret Service." His pen stopped. "You're making this worse for yourself." "No," Maya said. "You are." The second guard gave Caleb a quick glance. Caleb ignored him and kept writing. Suspicious individual observed near executive elevator. Subject refused to provide identification. Subject became argumentative when approached. Subject physically resisted attempt to inspect property. Maya read upside down from across the desk. She did not lean forward. She did not let her face change. Caleb had poor handwriting, but lies had a shape, even when the letters were ugly. "That statement is false," she said. Caleb looked up. "You want to add obstruction to the list? This is not a police station." "No, sweetheart. It's my security office. And you are not law enforcement." Something flickered in his face. There it was again. That wound beneath the uniform he no longer wore. Caleb Rourke had the posture of a cop and the authority of a hotel employee, and Maya had just named the space between the two. His voice dropped. "I was law enforcement before you were old enough to cross the street by yourself. I'm sure you were. You don't know a thing about what it takes to keep a place like this safe. I know what the Constitution says. I know what civil rights statutes say. And I know a private hotel cannot detain a guest based on race, age, clothing, and a refusal to surrender personal property." The young guard swallowed. Caleb turned on him. "Stop standing there like you're watching television. Check her bag." Maya's voice cut in immediately. "I do not consent to that search." Caleb picked up the bag anyway. For the first time, Maya's expression changed. Only slightly. Her eyes went to the leather, to the worn handle darkened where her father's hand had held it on the day he gave it to her. The bag was old, but it had survived every room that tried to make Maya feel temporary. Law school, lecture halls, court corridors, congressional offices, hospital waiting rooms when her mother's knees finally gave out after 30 years on night shift. Caleb unsnapped the flap, as if opening it were a small victory. "Careful," Maya said. He paused. Now you're worried? That bag matters to me. Well, maybe you should have thought of that before trying to sneak upstairs. The word sneak landed in the room with the same weight as steel. Maya looked at him and saw a man building a version of her that he could punish. Sneak, suspicious, non-compliant, argumentative. He needed those words because without them all he had was a young black woman who had asked him to make a phone call. He reached inside the bag. The phone on the desk vibrated again. The young guard glanced down. It's still Evelyn Brooks. Caleb did not look at him. Ignore it. She's called 6 times. Then she can call 7. Maya said nothing. Let the record grow, she thought. Let every refusal gather weight. Caleb pulled out a folded program from the event upstairs. He opened it, frowned, and read silently. Maya Williams was printed under keynote remarks. Special Advisor, White House Office of Civil Rights and Justice Policy. His eyes moved once, fast, to Maya, then back to the paper. The room changed by 1 degree. The second guard saw it. Sir? Caleb set the program aside. Slower now. Could be stolen. Maya almost admired the stubbornness. It took a particular kind of pride to stare at a fact and accuse it of impersonation. He reached into the bag again and removed a slim folder stamped with the seal of Senator Helen Whitmore's office. Then, a printed draft with Maya's handwritten notes in the margin. The title sat plain across the top. Private Security, Public Accountability. The young guard whispered, Mr. Rourke. Caleb's face reddened. Quiet. Then, he found the credential sleeve. It had been tucked inside the inner pocket, where Maya had placed it after the morning briefing. The plastic caught the fluorescent light. Caleb held it between 2 fingers, at first with irritation, then with a tightening stillness. Maya Williams, Special Advisor, Executive Office of the President. The second guard took 1 step back. The young guard looked as though he might be sick. Maya remained seated. Caleb stared at the credential. For several seconds, no one spoke. The office monitors continued to flicker silently around them. Upstairs, on one screen, guests moved near the ballroom entrance. Evelyn Brooks appeared briefly in the frame, walking fast, phone to her ear. Caleb saw her too. Maya watched his confidence try to rearrange itself into control. It failed. This doesn't explain why you didn't show it upstairs, he said. You took my bag before I could. You refused to identify yourself. I gave you my full name and asked you to verify it. You refused to cooperate. I refused an unlawful search. The second guard said quietly, Sir, we should call Mr. Cross. Caleb gave him a look that would have ended most conversations. This time the guard did not retreat completely. Fear had shifted sides. The second guard said quietly, Sir, we should call Mr. Cross. Caleb didn't answer. He didn't look at the guard, and he didn't look at Maya. The arrogance had completely drained from his face, leaving behind a gray, hollow panic. He did not apologize. Men like Caleb never apologized when the first crack appeared in their armor. They only looked for a way to hide the damage before the world saw it. With a hand that was suddenly shaking, Caleb grabbed the office phone and slammed his thumb onto the keypad. Get Daniel Cross down to security, he said, his voice stripped of all its previous iron. Now. Yes, right now. He paused, swallowing hard, his eyes flicking to the vibrating phone on the desk. And find Agent Vale from the event detail. Caleb finally put the credential down on the desk. He did not apologize. Men like Caleb never apologized when the first crack appeared. They looked for a way to patch it before anyone else saw daylight. He grabbed the office phone and dialed. Get Daniel Cross down to security, he said when someone answered. His voice had lost some of its iron. Now. A pause. Yes, now. Another pause. Caleb turned away slightly, but Maya could still hear him. And find Agent Vale from the event detail. The young guard looked at Maya then. Really looked at her for the first time. Not as a threat, not as a problem, as a person. That was often how recognition arrived in America. Too late to prevent the harm, just early enough to fear the consequence. Maya said nothing to him. Her phone vibrated again on the desk. Caleb stared at it, then at the credential, then at the false report under his hand. Maya leaned back slightly in the metal chair. Her shoulder ached. The back of her neck still held the memory of his palm, but her breathing was steady. The case had changed shape. It was no longer only about what Caleb had done in the lobby. It was about what he wrote afterward, what he refused to verify, what the hotel would try to erase, what the cameras had seen, what Lena had risked to say, what a private security director believed he could do to a woman he thought had no power. The basement door opened hard. Daniel Cross entered in a charcoal suit, polished shoes silent on the rubber floor. His expression was smooth, professional, and pale around the mouth. Behind him came a tall man with the stillness of federal protection. Dark suit, earpiece, eyes already scanning the room. Agent Thomas Vale looked first at Maya, then at the credential on the desk, then at Caleb. His voice was low. "Take your hands off her property, and tell me exactly why a White House advisor is sitting in your basement security room." Daniel Cross closed the door behind him, but he could not close out what had already entered the room. The credential lay on the desk beneath the fluorescent light. Maya's name, title, and the seal of the Executive Office of the President were visible to everyone. Beside it sat Caleb's half-written report, the one that called her suspicious, argumentative, non-compliant. For a few seconds, the room held both versions of the night side by side. One was paper, the other was proof. Daniel Cross looked at the credential again. He was a thin man in his early 50s, clean-shaven, carefully dressed, with the practiced calm of someone who had spent years apologizing without admitting fault. His cufflinks caught the light when he reached for the back of the nearest chair but did not sit. "Miss Williams," he said, his voice soft. "I am Daniel Cross, General Manager of the Hamilton Crown. I want to begin by saying that this appears to be an unfortunate misunderstanding." Maya looked at him. Agent Thomas Vale did not move. He stood near the door, hands relaxed, eyes not relaxed at all. Caleb Rourke opened his mouth. "Mr. Cross." She was near the executive elevators without visible credentials. "We had the jewelry incident, and she refused." "Stop talking," Daniel said. The words were quiet, but they cut Caleb off completely. Caleb's face tightened. The two guards stared at the floor. Daniel turned back to Maya. "May I ask whether you were injured?" Maya's expression did not change. "You may ask." "I am not answering medical questions in your basement security room." A small silence followed. Daniel understood the answer. Beneath the answer, "Of course," he said. "We can move upstairs immediately. I can arrange a private suite where you may collect yourself. We have staff who can assist with your clothing. I need my phone and my bag returned." Daniel nodded toward Caleb. "Return them." Caleb did not move at first. Then, Agent Vale took one step forward. That was enough. Caleb picked up Maya's phone and bag and placed them on the desk closer to her. He did not hand them to her. Maya noticed that too. Even now, he wanted one last inch of control. Maya stood. She reached for the bag first, checking the strap, the flap, the inner pocket. Then she picked up her phone. The screen showed 11 missed calls from Evelyn Brooks, 3 from Senator Whitmore's office, and 2 from an unknown number she suspected belonged to the event security desk. She unlocked it, not to make a call, but to confirm the time. 2,502 ppm. Daniel watched her. "Miss Williams, I understand how this must look." "No," Maya said. "You understand how it may look for the hotel." His mouth paused halfway toward another polished phrase. She put the phone in her coat pocket and slid the bag strap back onto her shoulder. The familiar weight steadied her. "I want a copy of the incident," report Mr. Rourke began writing. "I want the names and employee numbers of every person involved. I want confirmation in writing that I was detained and brought to this office against my will. I want all security footage preserved from every camera covering the lobby, executive elevators, service hallway, basement corridor, and this office. I also want the footage from the 15 minutes before and after the incident." Daniel's face remained professional, but the muscles at his jaw shifted. "We can certainly discuss appropriate documentation after we've had a chance to review what occurred." "No, you can provide confirmation now. Miss Williams, with respect, these processes require—" "With respect, Mr. Cross, your security director just put his hand on the back of my neck and forced me onto the floor of your lobby after refusing multiple requests to verify my identity. He accused me of theft in front of witnesses. He took my property. Then he wrote a false report while ignoring repeated calls from my assistant. Do not speak to me about process, as if process is something your hotel respects. Caleb's eyes flashed. That is not what happened. Maya turned to him for the first time since Daniel entered. Then preserve the footage. The room went still again. It was the cleanest challenge she could have given. No anger, no speech. Just the one thing every liar fears. Daniel stepped between them without appearing to. Mr. Rourke, you are relieved from this matter. Please leave us. Caleb stared at him. Sir, I was following heightened awareness protocol. You are relieved, Daniel repeated. Caleb looked at Agent Vale, then at Maya, then at the credential on the desk. His authority, which had seemed so large in the lobby, had shrunk to the size of a man waiting to be blamed. He walked out with his shoulders stiff and his face red. The young guard remained near the wall. Daniel turned to him. You too. The guards left. The door closed. Now only Maya, Daniel, and Agent Vale remained in the office. Daniel exhaled through his nose, a small, controlled release. Miss Williams, I apologize for this unfortunate interaction. I understand you are upset. Be careful with your choice of words, Mr. Cross. Maya cut him off, her voice dropping to a freezing, clinical register. Upset implies an emotional reaction. I am not overwhelmed, nor am I looking for hotel sympathy. This wasn't an interaction. It was an unlawful detention. And you are not minimizing my concern. You are invading my rights. Say it correctly. Daniel stopped, his hand freezing on his cuff. Agent Vale glanced at her, and for the first time since he had entered, unhidden respect moved across the federal agent's face. Daniel did not answer immediately. Outside the office, a radio crackled. Somewhere in the corridor, a cart rolled past. The hotel continued operating around them. Room service, valet calls, champagne upstairs, towels downstairs. The machine did not stop just because one of its gears had caught on the truth. Finally, Daniel said, Your rights. Maya nodded once. Good. Agent Vale spoke then. Miss Williams, Senator Whitmore's staff is asking whether you're safe. The ballroom is holding the program. Maya looked toward the monitors. On one screen, she could see the entrance to the 12th floor ballroom. People stood in small clusters, confused but polite. Evelyn Brooks appeared again, moving fast, her phone pressed to her ear. Maya knew the look on Evelyn's face without needing to see it clearly. I'll call her, Maya said. Daniel stepped in quickly. Before you do, I'd like to offer the hotel's full assistance. We can escort you privately upstairs through the service elevator. We can provide a suite where you may refresh yourself. If you prefer, we can issue a discreet statement that there was a security delay unrelated to you personally. Maya stared at him. There it was, the true talent of men like Daniel Cross. Caleb used hands. Daniel used language. Caleb forced people down. Daniel made events disappear. A discreet statement, Maya repeated, to avoid unnecessary public confusion. No, she said. Daniel's smile strained at the edges. No, I am not sneaking upstairs through a service elevator after being dragged down here through one. I assure you, no one is asking you to sneak. You are asking me to protect your lobby from the consequences of what happened in it. Daniel's eyes cooled slightly. The apology was still there, but now it had calculation behind it. Miss Williams, I hope we can resolve this constructively. So do I. Good. Then perhaps we can begin with privacy. Maya stepped closer to the desk and picked up the unfinished incident report. Daniel's hand moved as if to stop her, then froze when Agent Vale looked at him. Maya read the first lines. Suspicious individual. Refused identification. Became argumentative. Physically resisted. She held it up. This is not privacy. This is fabrication. Daniel's face tightened. That document has not been finalized. But it was started. Yes. And would it have been finalized if Mr. Rourke had not found my credential? No answer. Maya folded the report once and placed it back on the desk. I want a copy. I cannot release internal security documents without legal review. Then preserve it, in its current form, with metadata, with timestamps. with access logs. For the first time, Daniel Cross looked genuinely afraid, not panicked like Caleb. Afraid in the quiet corporate way, the way a man fears words like metadata, preservation, access logs, discovery. Maya saw it and understood the ground had shifted again. She took out her phone and called Evelyn. The answer came before the first ring finished. "Maya, where are you? Are you okay? The senator is about to go downstairs herself." "I'm safe," Maya said. Her voice softened, but only slightly. "I'm in the basement security office. I'm coming up now." "What happened?" Maya looked at Daniel Cross. "The hotel made a mistake. It will not be allowed to rename." Evelyn went silent. Maya continued. "Tell Senator Whitmore. I will still speak." "Maya, are you sure?" "Yes." "Do you need a doctor?" "No." "Do you need me?" Maya looked at the gray walls, the monitors, the half-written lie, the credential on the desk, and the doorway through which Lena Ortiz had carried the truth like folded linen. "Yes," she said. "Meet me outside the ballroom." "And Evelyn?" "I'm here." Write down the time. 7:56 p.m. I was detained by Hamilton Crown Security and held in the basement after identifying myself. Evelyn's voice changed. The assistant was gone. The record keeper had arrived. "I've got it." Maya ended the call. Daniel Cross watched her with the look of a man watching a small fire reach the curtains. "Miss Williams," he said, "I sincerely hope we can avoid turning this into something larger than it needs to be." Maya placed her phone back in her pocket. "It became larger the moment your security director decided I was smaller than I am." She turned toward the door. Agent Vale opened it for her. This time, Maya did not take the service elevator because Daniel preferred it. She took it because the ballroom was waiting, and because every minute from this point forward had a purpose. As they stepped into the corridor, Maya glanced once toward the corner camera outside the security office. Another lens. Another witness. The hotel had brought her below ground to hide a humiliation. It had not understood that some things only grow stronger in the dark. The brass doors of the executive elevator closed, sealing out the basement in heavy silence. Maya stood between Agent Vale and Daniel Cross, her bag resting against her side, her face composed under the warm, polished light of the VIP car. Daniel had offered the presidential suite twice more before the doors shut, each offer sounding less like hospitality and more like a corporate containment strategy. A private room, a fresh blouse, a quiet exit, a way to erase the night before the cameras could see it. Maya had refused it all. Agent Vale pressed the button for 12 and kept his eyes forward. He had the still posture of a man trained not to fill silence with apologies. That, Maya appreciated. She had no use for another apology shaped like damage control. As the elevator shot past the 8th floor, Daniel tried one final, desperate pivot. "Miss Williams." Public remarks made in the heat of the moment can deeply complicate a constructive resolution. Maya didn't look at him. She kept her eyes on the flashing floor numbers. "The heat of the moment ended when your director put his hands on me, Mr. Cross. This is the aftermath." Agent Vale did not turn his head, but his eyes shifted slightly toward the mirrored elevator wall. He had heard it. Good. Maya wanted every sentence placed where it could later be found. The elevator opened onto the 12th floor. Warm air, quiet music, and polished voices met them at once. The hallway outside the ballroom was lined with cream walls, framed photographs of old Washington dinners, and tall windows looking toward the winter-dark city. Staff members in black jackets stood near silver trays of coffee and sparkling water. At the far end, outside the double doors, Evelyn Brooks spun around so quickly that the folder in her hand nearly slipped. Maya. Evelyn did not run. She was too professional for that. But she crossed the hallway in 4 fast steps and stopped just short of touching Maya, as if afraid there might be pain under the coat she could not see. "I'm all right," Maya said. Evelyn looked at her face, then at her coat, then at the faint mark near the side of her neck where Caleb's hand had pressed her down. Her expression changed from worry to something colder. "What did they do?" Maya's voice stayed low. "They made a mistake they now want described as confusion." Evelyn looked past her at Daniel Cross. "Mr. Cross, "Miss Brooks," Daniel said, "we are addressing the matter with urgency." "No," Evelyn said. "You are standing near the woman your security staff detained while trying to decide how much of the truth can survive your brand guidelines." Daniel's face tightened, but he did not answer. Evelyn was 37, precise, and usually diplomatic. Tonight her restraint had teeth. The ballroom doors opened. Senator Helen Whitmore stepped into the hall. At 64, Senator Whitmore carried age like a credential. She had white hair cut neatly at the jaw, a black evening suit, and the kind of gaze that had made witnesses reconsider perjury in 3 different Senate hearings. She looked first at Maya, then at Daniel, then at Agent Vale. "What happened?" she asked. Maya answered before Daniel could. "I was stopped at the executive elevators, accused of theft, forced to the lobby floor, taken to the basement security office, and held there after identifying myself." The hallway went quiet. A server holding a tray of coffee froze near the wall. 2 donors emerging from the restroom stopped mid-conversation. Evelyn lowered her eyes for 1 second, not in weakness, but to control whatever rose behind them. Senator Whitmore turned slowly toward Daniel Cross. "In my hotel event?" Daniel's tone was careful. "Senator, there was a security concern related to an earlier theft complaint. My team appears to have acted on incomplete information." Maya said, "Your team refused complete information when I offered it." Whitmore's eyes did not leave Daniel. "You will preserve every second of footage." "Of course, not as a courtesy," Whitmore said. "As evidence." Daniel swallowed. "Understood." From inside the ballroom, light spilled through the open doors. The event had been delayed, but not dissolved. Guests stood in clusters near round tables set with white linen and small American flags in glass holders. Older men in dark suits checked watches. Women in evening jackets whispered near the back. A retired federal judge Maya recognized sat near the front with his hands folded over a cane. These were people who knew how Washington moved when something had gone wrong. First the pause, then the whisper, then the controlled language designed to make wrongdoing sound like weather. Evelyn stepped closer. "We can cancel the remarks." "No, Maya, you don't have to do this right now." "Yes, I do." Senator Whitmore studied her. "You're certain?" Maya looked down the hallway toward the service elevator. For a moment, she felt the cold marble again beneath her palms, Caleb's hand at the back of her neck, the weight of strangers deciding not to intervene. Then she looked at the ballroom. A room full of people had gathered to applaud the idea of accountability. Now they would have to sit with its cost. "I'm certain," she said. Evelyn nodded once and shifted instantly into motion. "Your notes are on the podium. I'll adjust the introduction." "No introduction," Maya said. "Just bring me up." Whitmore placed a hand lightly on Maya's arm, not gripping, not guiding, asking permission through touch. Maya allowed it. "Take your time," the senator said softly. Maya shook her head. "If I take too much time, they'll turn it into something I imagined." Whitmore's face tightened with recognition. She had lived long enough in America to understand that sentence without explanation. They entered the ballroom together. Conversation faded in layers. First, the tables near the door, then the donors by the windows, then the back of the room, where several people still held drinks. By the time Maya reached the front, nearly 200 faces had turned toward her. She did not remove her coat. She did not hide the dust on the fabric. She did not ask for makeup, water, or a moment to compose herself. Her cream dress was creased. A strand of hair had come loose near her cheek. Her old leather bag rested at her feet when she stepped behind the podium. Evelyn stood to the side, phone in hand, recording nothing yet but ready for everything. Senator Whitmore approached the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience. Our keynote speaker is here, Maya Williams." That was all. The applause began politely, then faltered. People sensed something wrong but did not yet know where to place it. Maya looked out at them. She saw former judges, civil rights attorneys, hotel executives, donors who had given money to causes they preferred not to experience directly. She saw gray hair, careful posture, pearl earrings, folded programs, American flag pins. The familiar respectability of people who believed in justice as long as it arrived in scheduled remarks. She touched the edge of the podium. "I was going to begin tonight with numbers," she said. "Complaint data, training standards, liability gaps. The kind of language Washington trusts because it feels clean." No one moved. But less than an hour ago, downstairs in this hotel, I was stopped at the executive elevators by the director of security. I gave my name. I asked him to verify it. He refused. He accused me of coming here to steal. He forced me to the lobby floor in front of guests and took me to a basement security office while my phone rang with calls from this event. A low sound moved through the room. Not outrage yet. Shock. Maya continued, her voice steady. "I am not telling you this because I hold a title. I am telling you because my title is the only reason some people downstairs are now afraid. And that should trouble every person in this room." A woman near the front covered her mouth. The retired judge lowered his eyes. "Tonight, I was reminded that dignity is often denied before the law is ever discussed, before a complaint is filed, before a court hears a claim, before an apology is drafted. It begins in the first assumption, the first hand on an arm, the first command spoken to someone who has done nothing wrong." Daniel Cross stood near the back wall, pale and still. Maya saw him. She did not look away. "We have built too many systems where a uniform can become permission, where private security can act like public power, and where the person harmed must be perfect, calm, credentialed, and lucky enough to be believed." The room was completely silent now. Maya looked down for the first time, not at her notes, but at the old leather bag beside the podium. "My father drove a city bus in Detroit. He used to tell me, when you walk through a door, hold it open for someone behind you. That is why I came tonight. Not to speak for people with credentials, but for the ones who are asked to prove they belong in places they already have every right to enter." Evelyn's eyes glistened, but her hand stayed steady. Maya lifted her gaze. "Justice is not fair when only the powerful can afford to prove they were wronged. So if we leave here tonight with one obligation, let it be this. No policy, no hotel, no badge, no private uniform, and no polished lobby should ever be allowed to decide a person's dignity by appearance." There was no applause at first. The silence after her words had weight. It was not empty. It was the sound of people being forced to understand that the speech was no longer theoretical. Then Senator Whitmore stood. The retired judge followed. One by one, the room rose. Not with the excitement of a campaign rally, but with something slower and older. Shame, respect, recognition. Maya stepped back from the podium. She did not smile. She did not bow. She picked up her father's bag, held it close at her side, and looked once toward Daniel Cross. His hotel had tried to turn her into a problem. In front of the most powerful room in the building, she had turned the problem into a record. The applause followed Maya out of the ballroom, but it did not protect her from the morning. By 6:15 a.m., the clip had already crossed the city. Someone in the back of the ballroom had recorded the speech. Not the whole speech, only the part where Maya said she had been accused of stealing and forced to the lobby floor. By sunrise, it was on social media, then on local news, then on the national morning shows where serious things were cut into 90-second segments and placed between weather maps and cholesterol medication commercials. Maya watched the first broadcast from her small office in the Eisenhower Executive Office Building, wearing the same coat because she had not gone home long enough to change. A paper cup of coffee sat untouched beside her keyboard. The old leather bag rested on the chair near the door, exactly where she could see it. On the screen, the anchor's face was arranged into concern. White House Special Advisor Maya Williams made a stunning accusation last night against the Hamilton Crown Hotel, claiming she was detained by private security before a policy event on civil rights accountability. The hotel has not yet released full details, but in a statement provided early this morning, management described the matter as a security delay involving an unverified individual near a restricted access point. Unverified individual. Maya leaned back slowly. There it was. The first clean lie. Her phone buzzed before the segment ended. Evelyn Brooks stood in the doorway, with her own phone in hand. Eyes tired, hair pulled into a tighter bun than usual. "You've seen it?" Evelyn asked. "I've seen the phrase. They're repeating it everywhere." Maya looked back at the television. A split screen appeared. On one side, Maya at the podium. On the other, a still photo of the Hamilton Crown glowing gold against the winter night. Underneath, the caption read, "Security incident or civil rights violation. They know what they're doing," Maya said. Evelyn stepped inside and closed the door. Hamilton Crown released the statement at 5:42. They used unverified individual twice, heightened security posture once, and standard protective protocol 3 times. "Any apology?" "Not public." "Good." Evelyn looked at her. "Good?" An apology would let them pretend they understood the harm. This way, they are still talking like the injury belongs to them. The phone on Maya's desk rang. Evelyn glanced at the number. Communications. Maya did not pick up immediately. She watched the muted television as a second commentator began speaking. Older white man, former police chief, silver hair, grave expression. Private security teams have to make split-second decisions, especially at high-level political events. We don't know what Miss Williams was asked, how she responded, or whether she escalated the situation. Maya pressed mute harder than necessary. Evelyn said, "You didn't escalate anything." "I know, but the country doesn't." By 8 o'clock, Maya was sitting in a West Wing conference room, facing 3 senior staffers and a deputy counsel whose polished sympathy felt as sterile as the fluorescent lighting. Evelyn stood near the wall, a grim shadow. "Maya, we believe you, and we are deeply sorry this happened," the deputy counsel began, though his posture suggested her trauma was primarily a PR crisis. "But communications is spiraling. They're already calling your speech an uncoordinated allegation. If we push the oversight proposal this Thursday, the opposition will claim the White House is weaponizing federal policy to settle a personal vendetta against a private hotel. A private business put its hands on my neck," Maya said, her voice dropping the room's temperature by 5 degrees. "They contaminated my dignity. And now you're telling me the truth contaminates the policy." The communications advisor leaned forward. "We aren't disputing your experience, Maya. We are protecting the rollout. Right now, your name is a controversy. We need to postpone until the situation stabilizes." 2 years, Maya whispered, looking at the pristine mahogany table. 2 years of data, hearings, and survivor interviews, all balanced on the scales of Washington cowardice. "You want to bury the very proof that this law is necessary." The room went dead still. Senator Whitmore joined by phone, her voice gravelly and direct. "Maya, I'm going to say what others are dressing up. If you move forward publicly, they will make you the story instead of the policy. If you stay quiet, they will call it proof. The hotel did nothing wrong." Maya looked at the speakerphone. "What would you do?" Whitmore did not answer quickly. That was why Maya respected her. "I am 64 years old," the senator said. "I have survived in Washington by knowing when to fight in public and when to count votes in private. But I also know this. There are moments when silence does not preserve power. It spends it." The room absorbed that. The deputy counsel cleared his throat. "No one is asking you to be silent forever. We're recommending a pause," Maya said. "A pause for whom? For the situation to stabilize. The situation is stable. I was detained. The hotel lied. The footage exists. Witnesses exist. Their report exists." The communications advisor said, "We do not know what footage exists." Maya looked at him. "They do." By noon, the Hamilton Crown statement had evolved. Daniel Cross appeared outside the hotel entrance in a navy overcoat, flanked by 2 public relations consultants and a row of American flags near the revolving doors. He did not look frightened now. He looked solemn. That was worse. "We take all guest concerns seriously," he told reporters. "Last night, our security team responded to an active concern involving unauthorized access near a restricted event area. At this time, we believe our personnel acted in accordance with standard safety protocols. We are reviewing the matter internally. Guest concerns, unauthorized access, standard safety protocols." Maya watched from her office with Evelyn standing beside her. Daniel never said her name. He did not have to. By avoiding it, he made her smaller. Then Caleb's lawyer released a statement. Mr. Rourke is a respected security professional with decades of experience. He acted after a reported theft from a VIP guest and attempted to verify the identity of an individual who refused to cooperate. Any suggestion that his actions were motivated by race is false and defamatory. Evelyn read it aloud, then stopped. They're setting up defamation. No, Maya said. They're setting up fear. Her personal phone rang. The screen showed M.O.M. Maya answered before the second ring. Hi, Mama. Elaine Williams did not begin with panic. She had been a nurse too long for panic to be her first tool. Are you sitting down? Maya's throat tightened despite herself. Yes. Good. Then listen to me. There are 2 men with cameras outside my house. Maya stood. What? They knocked once. I did not open the door. One asked whether I thought my daughter was too ambitious for her own good. Evelyn looked up sharply. Maya gripped the edge of the desk. I'm sorry. Don't you start that. Mama. No. I said don't. Elaine's voice remained steady, but there was iron under it. I have had harder mornings than this one. I worked Christmas Eve in an emergency room with a fever and a mortgage due. I can handle a man with a microphone. They shouldn't be at your house. No, they shouldn't. But that is not the same as you being wrong. Maya closed her eyes. On the television, Daniel Cross's face appeared again, mouth moving beneath the caption, Hotel defends security response. Elaine continued. Softer now. Baby, they are going to try to make you sound angry, confused, ungrateful, political, anything but right. Let them try. Just make sure when you speak so clearly, even the people pretending not to hear have to remember the words. Maya could not answer at first. Then she said, I'm trying. I know. And Maya? Yes, ma'am. Don't let them turn peace into the prize. Peace without truth is just a nicer room to be quiet in. After the call ended, Maya remained standing. Evelyn did not interrupt. The office felt smaller now, not because of the walls, but because the pressure had finally found the place it could hurt her. Not the news, not Caleb, not Daniel Cross. Her mother's porch in Detroit. Her mother's name pulled toward a story she had not asked to enter. Maya picked up her old leather bag from the chair. She ran her thumb over the worn handle. They're going after my mother, she said. Evelyn's voice was low. Yes, they're going after the policy. Yes, they're going to make the hotel sound careful, Caleb sound reasonable, and me sound unstable. Evelyn did not soften the truth. Yes, Maya nodded slowly. By late afternoon, her name had become a debate topic. Not what happened to her, whether she had responded correctly, whether she should have shown identification sooner, whether private security deserved more grace, whether a 29-year-old advisor had the maturity to handle a misunderstanding without turning it into a national issue. Maya sat at her desk and began typing. Not a statement for the press. A timeline. 7:31 p.m. Entered Hamilton Crown. Through front lobby. 7:36 p.m. Approached executive elevators. 7:38 p.m. Stopped by Caleb Rourke. Accused of theft. Physical restraint used. No resistance. 7:42 p.m. Taken through service corridor. 7:46 p.m. Basement security office. 7:52 p.m. Credential discovered. 7:56 p.m. Called Evelyn Brooks. Every line steadied her. Facts did not comfort. They armed. When she finished, she sent the document to Evelyn with one sentence. Preserve everything. Then, Maya looked back at the muted television, where strangers continued discussing whether her dignity had been handled according to protocol. For the first time all day, she felt the cold, quiet return. The hotel had made its public statement. Caleb had made his denial. Washington had made its concerns known. Now Maya Williams would begin making the record. The first reporter came to Elaine Williams's porch at 8:40 inches the morning. By 9, there were 3. By noon, a white van from a local station had parked across the street from her small brick house in Detroit. Its antenna lifted like a warning. Elaine watched from behind the lace curtain in her front room, one hand wrapped around a mug of black coffee gone cold, the other resting on the back of the worn armchair where her husband used to sit after the late bus route. She did not open the door. When the knocking started again, she walked to the hallway, stood behind the locked door, and spoke through it with the calm of a woman who had spent 32 years telling frightened patients to breathe. "No comment, thank you. Mrs. Williams, do you believe your daughter exaggerated what happened at the Hamilton Crown?" Elaine looked at the door as if it had insulted her personally. "No comment," she repeated. "Do you think Maya's position at the White House influenced her response?" Elaine's hand tightened around the coffee mug. "I said no comment. Please step off my porch." The man outside tried again. "Some people are saying she's using this for political attention." Elaine opened the door 6 inches, not wide enough for a camera to see inside, just enough for the reporter to see her face. She was 61, with silver in her hair and tired dignity in her eyes. She wore a navy cardigan over a house dress and slippers with worn soles. Behind her, the house smelled faintly of coffee, lemon cleaner, and the chicken soup she had started before the reporters arrived. "My daughter does not need a hotel floor to earn attention," Elaine said. "Now get off my porch before I call the police and make you explain why you are harassing a retired nurse before lunch." The reporter blinked. Elaine closed the door. Across the room, a framed photograph of Maya's law school graduation sat on the side table. In the picture, Maya stood between her parents, young and bright-eyed, under a black cap. Her father, Raymond, had one hand on her shoulder and the other holding the same brown leather bag she carried now. He had saved for it in small bills, taking extra shifts during winter when the buses ran late and passengers were tired enough to be cruel. Elaine set her mug down and touched the frame. "You see this, Ray?" she whispered. "Our baby made it all the way to the White House, and they still asked whether she belonged." Her phone rang. She knew it would be Maya before she looked. "Hi, Mama," Maya said, her voice controlled in that careful way Elaine recognized too well. Her daughter sounded professional when she was hurting. As a child, she had done the same thing after scraped knees, bad grades, and the first time a store clerk followed her through every aisle. "I'm fine," Elaine said before Maya could ask. "You shouldn't have to be. That was not the question." Maya went quiet. Elaine moved back to the window and looked through the narrow space beside the curtain. The van was still there. One man leaned against it, checking his phone. Another stood near the curb with a camera pointed at nothing, waiting for grief or anger to come outside where it could be edited. "They came to the house," Elaine said. "I know," Evelyn told me. "I'm sorry. Stop apologizing for other people's bad raising." Maya let out a small breath. It was not quite a laugh, but it was close enough to ease Elaine's chest. "I hate that they dragged you into this. Baby, I was in this before you were born." Maya did not answer. Elaine sat in the armchair. It still held a faint dip where Raymond's weight had shaped it over the years. "You remember when I worked nights at Street Bartholomew's?" "Yes. There was a winter. You were maybe 9. I came in through the side entrance because the main door was iced all over. I had on my badge, my scrubs, my coat, everything. Security stopped me in the hallway and asked if I was lost." Maya's voice softened. "You never told me that. I didn't tell you a lot of things." "Why?" "Because children need breakfast more than they need bitterness." Elaine looked toward the kitchen, where the soup simmered low. "He asked if I was looking for a patient room. I told him I was looking for the nurse's station where I had worked for 17 years. He laughed like I was being cute. Then, he asked to see my badge. My badge was clipped to my chest. Mama, I showed it anyway. You shouldn't have had to. No. But I had a mortgage, a daughter, and a 12-hour shift waiting. I swallowed it because I needed my job more than I needed him to learn something that night." The line went quiet except for the faint office sounds behind Maya. A door closing, a keyboard, a distant voice. Elaine continued. "That is what people don't understand about silence. Sometimes, silence is not agreement. Sometimes it is survival. I know. No, you know it in your head. I knew it in my feet. Standing on hospital floors until 3 in the morning. Smiling at doctors who called me by the wrong name. Helping patients who asked when the real nurse was coming. Going home to make your lunch before school like nothing in me had been scraped raw." Maya breathed in slowly. "I wish you had told me. I wanted you to walk lighter than I did. That didn't happen. No, Elaine said. But you walked farther. The words settled between them. Maya looked through her office window in Washington, though Elaine could not see it. They're telling me to pause the policy rollout. Who is they? People who say they support me. That usually means they support you when it is convenient. Maya rubbed her forehead. They think the proposal will look personal now. Is it personal? Yes. Is it only personal? No. Then tell them grown women can hold two truths at once. Maya almost smiled. You should work in communications. I worked emergency rooms. Communications would bore me. For the first time that day, Maya laughed softly. Elaine closed her eyes and held on to the sound. Then Maya said, I'm scared this will bury the work. Elaine opened her eyes. Maya, listen to me. Work that can only live when injustice stays quiet is not safe work. It is decoration. Maya said nothing. That proposal of yours, it was never paper to me, Elaine continued. It was for the man delivering food who gets stopped at the front desk like he is a thief. It was for the home health aide told to use the back entrance. It was for the hotel maid who sees everything and is paid to say nothing. It was for me at Street Bartholomew's, showing a badge already on my chest. Mama, if I keep pushing, they'll come after you harder. Elaine looked at the reporters outside. One of them was now interviewing a neighbor across the street, Mrs. Patterson, 73, church hat, even on a weekday, arms folded tight. Elaine could not hear her, but from the way the reporter's face fell, Mrs. Patterson was not giving them what they wanted. Your father drove buses in Detroit for 28 years, Elaine said. Men cursed at him. Drunks threatened him. Once, a passenger spit on the floor near his shoes and told him to remember who paid his salary. Your father came home, cleaned his shoes, ate his dinner, and went back the next morning. Do you know why? Because we needed the money. That too. But also because he refused to let the worst person on the bus decide whether he belonged behind the wheel. Maya looked toward the chair holding the leather bag in her office. I still carry it. I know. It was on my shoulder when Caleb stopped me. Then your father was with you. Maya closed her eyes. Elaine's voice gentled. Baby, I am not telling you to be brave because I think brave is easy. I am telling you because I know what fear costs when you let it make every decision. They're going to call me angry. They already did. They're going to call me ambitious. You are? They're going to call me unstable. You are the most stable woman I know, which frankly has made you difficult since you were 12. Maya laughed again, but this time it broke near the end. Elaine let the silence hold her. She had learned long ago not to rush someone through tears they were trying not to have. Finally, Maya said, What if I lose? Elaine looked at Raymond's photograph, then lose telling the truth. Outside, the news van door slid open. The crew began packing up. Mrs. Patterson had crossed the street and was now standing on Elaine's sidewalk with a plastic container in her hand. Soup or cornbread? Probably. Detroit women did not come to a porch empty-handed when trouble arrived. I have to go, Elaine said. Are they leaving? For now. Mrs. Patterson is on the sidewalk. That woman once made a bill collector apologize to her azaleas. Your reporters never stood a chance. Maya exhaled. I love you. I love you too. And Maya? Yes, ma'am. Do not waste your voice pretending peace is the same as justice. The words entered Maya quietly, but they did not leave quietly. They moved through her like instruction. After the call ended, Maya remained at her desk for a long time. After the call ended, the silence in Maya's office felt different. It was no longer heavy with isolation. It was fueled by decades of quiet survival. Outside, the White House corridor carried on with its polished rhythm, absorbing the crisis as Washington always did. But inside her, the story had officially widened. This was no longer just about a hotel lobby or a false report. It was about her mother's badge, her father's bus, and every quiet person who had ever swallowed humiliation just to survive the morning. She looked at the old leather bag on her desk, running her thumb over the worn handle. Her father's gift had survived every room that tried to make them feel temporary, and it wasn't going to stop now. Maya grabbed her phone. Evelyn, she said the moment the call connected. Find Marcus Reed's number. Maya picked up the leather bag and placed it on her desk. Her father's gift looked worn under the office light. The handle was cracked. The corners were tired. But it had carried everything that mattered through rooms that had underestimated her. She touched the strap once, then reached for her phone. "Evelyn," she said when the call connected. "Find Marcus Reed's number." A pause. "The civil rights attorney?" "Yes." "Are we calling him today?" Maya looked at the muted television, where her face appeared beneath another headline asking whether the Hamilton Crown incident had gone too far. "No," she said. "We're calling him now." Marcus Reed's office occupied the top floor of a narrow building on K Street, close enough to power to hear its footsteps, and far enough from it to sue without asking permission. Maya arrived just after 4, with Evelyn beside her and the leather bag on her shoulder. The winter light had begun to fade over Washington, turning the office windows dark and reflective. Below, traffic moved slowly, red brake lights stretching toward Farragut Square. Inside, the reception area was quiet. No marble, no chandelier, no hotel music, just framed trial sketches, shelves of case binders, and a photograph of Marcus Reed standing outside a federal courthouse, beside a family who looked too exhausted to celebrate the verdict they had just won. Marcus did not keep them waiting. He stepped out of the conference room himself, tall, lean, late 50s, with close-cropped gray hair and the steady eyes of a man who had listened to thousands of lies and learned not to interrupt too early. He wore no tie. His shirt sleeves were rolled once at the wrist. In one hand, he held a yellow legal pad. "Miss Williams," he said. "Maya's fine." "Not today," Marcus said. "Today, names matter." She understood immediately. He was not being formal for vanity. He was restoring what Caleb had tried to strip away. They shook hands. Marcus turned to Evelyn. "Miss Brooks, thank you for seeing us so quickly," Evelyn said. "Your call did not sound like something that should wait." He gestured toward the conference room. "Come in. We'll start with time." The room had a long table, a whiteboard, a wall clock, and a tray of coffee no one touched. Marcus sat at the head of the table, not like a man claiming status, but like a surgeon choosing the right angle of light. Maya sat across from him. Evelyn opened her laptop. Marcus uncapped his pen. "No speeches first. No conclusions. No feelings yet. Give me the night in minutes." Maya nodded. The instruction steadied her. "Give me the night in minutes," Marcus said. Maya didn't offer a narrative. She delivered a deposition. She laid out the timeline with clinical precision, the 7:31 entry, the 7:38 confrontation, and the exact, ugly phrases Caleb Rourke had dropped onto the marble floor. She detailed the specific physical parameters of the restraint, her explicit verbal declarations of non-resistance, and the 4 separate times she requested identity verification. Marcus's pen didn't stop until she mentioned the concierge. Caleb told the desk agent not to touch the phone. Marcus looked up, his eyes narrowing. "Direct order. In front of witnesses," Maya confirmed. Marcus made a heavy note in the margin. "That sentence matters more than the physical shove. That is a documented, conscious choice to deny verification. That is what transforms a security misunderstanding into a catastrophic civil rights violation." He continued. "Physical contact. He grabbed my arm, forced me down to the lobby floor, pressed his hand against the back of my neck, and locked my shoulder down. I did not resist. I stated clearly that I was not resisting. Any visible injury? Redness, soreness. No major injury. Did you seek medical treatment? No. Good that you're honest. We do not invent harm. We prove the harm that exists." Maya looked at him carefully. "I don't want this turned into theater." Marcus leaned back slightly. "Then you came to the right office. Theater wins headlines. Records win cases." For the next 40 minutes, he walked her through everything. The lobby, the guests, the red-coated woman near the fireplace, the 2 guards, the concierge camera, the jewelry store, the service hallway, the elevator, the basement security office, the incident report, the credential found in the bag, Daniel Cross's arrival, Agent Thomas Vale, the offer to move Maya to a private suite, the speech upstairs, the hotel statement the next morning. Marcus asked for no outrage and supplied none. Each fact was placed on the table, weighed, dated, connected. At last, he stood and went to the whiteboard. Across the top, he wrote, Hamilton Crown Incident. Beneath it, he drew a straight line. Civil rights cases live or die on sequence, he said. They will try to make this foggy. Security concern, confusion, miscommunication, heightened protocol. Those words are fog. We answer with a timeline. He began marking points. 7:31 entry. 7:38 stop. Identity offered. Verification refused. Accusation made. Force used. Property taken. Service corridor. Basement office. Report drafted. Credential discovered. Manager notified. Hotel attempts private resolution. Public statement reframes event. Then he turned. They are not afraid of your title. They are afraid of a timeline. Maya felt the sentence enter the room and settle there. Evelyn looked up from her laptop. What do we do first? Preservation letters today, Marcus said. To the hotel, the security contractor, the event company, the cloud storage provider, and most importantly, the jewelry boutique on the far side of the lobby. Maya looked up. The jewelry store. Exactly. Marcus nodded, making a heavy circle around the words on his pad. The hotel can easily lose their own lobby footage due to a sudden server glitch. But a high-end independent boutique owns its own security feed. Their camera was angled diagonally toward the elevators at 7:38. Corporate can't erase what they don't own. Evelyn asked, what about the incident report? We demand preservation in native form. Drafts, edits, access logs, metadata, any internal messages discussing Miss Williams before and after the event. Maya noticed he still did not call her Maya. Not yet. It kept the case formal. It kept the room from softening. Marcus sat again. Now we discuss pressure. Evelyn closed her laptop halfway. Marcus looked at Maya. They will offer money fast. Not because they are generous. Because silence is cheaper before discovery. They already floated a private apology through hotel counsel. How much? Evelyn? 1 million, Evelyn said. Private apology. Donation to Maya's program. NDA. No admission. Marcus laughed once, without humor. Of course, Maya said. I considered it. Evelyn looked at her, but said nothing. Marcus did not judge her. Why? Because the policy rollout may be postponed. Because they went to my mother's house. Because every hour this grows, the work I came to Washington to do gets pushed behind the story of what happened to me. And because you are tired. Maya looked away for a second. Yes, Marcus nodded. Good. Never trust a client who pretends not to be tired. He took off his glasses and set them on the table. Let me be plain. Taking a settlement is not cowardice. Sometimes it is wise. Sometimes it pays for care, protects family, and closes a wound before it consumes a life. But an NDA in a case like this does something specific. It lets the institution buy not only your silence, but the public's ignorance. Maya looked at the old bag beside her chair. Marcus continued. You have to decide what you want. Quiet or clean. The words were gentle, but they struck harder than a demand. Maya did not answer immediately. Outside the window, Washington traffic pulsed through the dusk. Somewhere in that city, Daniel Cross was likely in a conference room with lawyers of his own, choosing phrases meant to turn a woman on a floor into a security delay. Somewhere, Caleb Rourke was telling himself he had done nothing wrong. Somewhere, Lena Ortiz was pushing a cart through hotel corridors, wondering whether whispering the truth would cost her a paycheck. I want the record clean, Maya said. Marcus watched her. That is not the same as wanting revenge. I know. Do you? Maya looked back at him. Revenge would be making Caleb afraid because he made me afraid. That is not enough. I want the next Caleb to hesitate before he puts his hand on someone who cannot call a senator. For the first time, Marcus smiled faintly. Then we know what this is. What is it? A civil rights case with institutional exposure. Evelyn opened her laptop again. How bad for them? Marcus put his glasses back on. If the facts hold, bad. If the footage exists, worse. If prior complaints exist, Very bad. If internal emails show they trained or encouraged staff to exclude people who looked like they did not belong, catastrophic. Maya thought of Caleb's voice. People like you. What if the lobby camera disappears? She asked. Then disappearance becomes evidence. What if the robot footage is partial? Partial truth is better than polished fiction. What if witnesses refuse to come forward? Some will, some won't. Fear has a mortgage too. Maya thought of Elaine, of the reporters at the porch, of a hospital badge already visible on a nurse's chest. Marcus slid a document across the table. Engagement agreement. Read it before you sign. I do not want your signature while you are angry. I'm not angry. No, he said. You are controlled. That can be more dangerous if you don't rest. Maya read every line. Fee structure. Scope of representation. Litigation authority. Media boundaries. Conflict provisions. Evelyn read it too. Neither woman rushed. Nah. When Maya signed, Marcus did not take the paper immediately. He let her hand leave it first. From this point forward, he said, do not speak to hotel representatives without me. Do not post. Do not correct every lie in real time. Give me names of everyone who contacted you. Save. Voicemails. Screenshot messages. Preserve clothing if you still have it. I do. Good. Bag 2. Maya's hand moved to the leather strap. The bag wasn't damaged. It was taken. It matters. She understood. Marcus stood. I'll send the letters within the hour. Evelyn rose with him. What should we expect tonight? Another statement from the hotel. Softer language. More concern. No admission. And tomorrow? He looked at Maya. They will look for something to make you smaller. A quote. An old memo. A photograph. Anything that turns the public from what happened to who they can accuse you of being. Maya stood slowly. They already started. I know. At the door, Marcus paused. Miss Williams. She turned. When they call you difficult, remember this. Difficult is what they call a person who refuses to carry the weight of someone else's lie. Maya held his gaze. Then she nodded once and walked out with Evelyn beside her, the leather bag on her shoulder, the first legal letter already forming behind them like weather the Hamilton Crown could not stop. The first preservation letters reached Hamilton Crown at 6:18 p.m. By 7:03, Daniel Cross had called the hotel's outside counsel. By 8:40, every manager with access to the security system had been told not to delete, alter, rename, export, transfer, or discuss any footage from the night of the incident without legal approval. The instruction sounded responsible. It sounded clean. It sounded like a company suddenly devoted to procedure. But procedure, Marcus Reed had warned Maya, often arrived right after conscience failed. The next morning, Hamilton Crown released a second statement. Maya read it in Evelyn's office because she did not want to read it alone. The room smelled faintly of printer toner and peppermint tea. Evelyn stood beside her desk with crossed arms, while Maya leaned over the laptop and watched Daniel Cross's carefully selected words appear on the screen. Hamilton Crown remains committed to the safety and dignity of every guest. We are conducting a thorough internal review of the recent security matter involving Miss Maya Williams. At this stage, the available information indicates that our personnel responded to a legitimate concern regarding restricted access following a reported theft. We reject any suggestion that race played a role in the actions taken by our team. Maya read the final sentence twice. Evelyn said, "They named you this time, only to deny what they did. They also sent the same statement to every network." Of course they did. The phone on Evelyn's desk rang. She picked it up, listened, then covered the receiver with her palm. Marcus. Maya nodded. Evelyn put him on speaker. Marcus's voice came through calm and awake, as though he had been expecting the fire and had slept well beside it. "You saw the statement?" "Yes," Maya said. "They are shifting from misunderstanding to justified response." Meaning? Meaning the next step is to make you look unreasonable. Evelyn glanced at the screen. "They already started," Marcus said. "Check your inbox." Maya opened her email. A message from Marcus sat at the top with 3 attachments. She clicked the first one. It was a low-resolution video, 32 seconds long. The clip showed Maya in the Hamilton Crown lobby holding the strap of her leather bag, while the young guard reached toward it. Caleb stood nearby, mouth moving without audio. The video began after the insult, after the shove, after Maya had identified herself. It ended before Caleb forced her down. No sound, no context, no beginning. Only Maya holding her bag while 3 security officers surrounded her. Evelyn muttered. "They leaked it," Marcus said. "Not officially. It appeared on 2 anonymous accounts at 8:12 this morning. A cable producer picked it up by 8:29. I expect it to be on air within the hour." Maya stared at the frozen image of herself. Her face looked composed, but the frame made her body seem resistant, defensive, difficult. Exactly what they wanted. "They cut out everything that matters," Evelyn said. "That is why they cut it," Marcus replied. Maya touched the edge of the laptop. "Where did they get it?" "Almost certainly internal hotel footage, which means 2 things. 1, they do have lobby footage. 2, someone accessed and exported at least a portion after receiving our preservation letter." Evelyn looked up sharply. "Is that spoliation?" "Not by itself, but it is a path toward sanctions if they deleted or manipulated the rest. We need access logs." Maya watched herself on the screen again. The silent woman in the clip looked lonely, not because she was alone, but because the truth had been removed from around her. Marcus continued, "Do not respond online. Do not explain the clip. The trap is to make you litigate in public frame by frame." "I understand." "Good. I'll issue a short statement. Edited footage without audio does not change the facts, and we renew our demand for preservation of complete, unaltered recordings." Evelyn said, "What about the main lobby camera?" A pause. Maya knew before Marcus answered. "The hotel claims the primary lobby camera experienced a storage failure between 7:34 and 7:44 p.m. Evelyn closed her eyes. "Convenient. Very," Marcus said. "They disclosed it through counsel 40 minutes ago. Alleged server synchronization issue." Maya did not speak. The dates, times, and words arranged themselves in her mind. Stop at 7:38. Missing camera from 7:34 to 7:44. Clip leaked from a different angle. No audio. No beginning. No floor restraint. "Do they know about the robot?" Maya asked. "They know we asked. They do not know what the vendor will produce." "What did the vendor say?" "Nothing yet. But the letter went to their general counsel, not the hotel. That matters." Evelyn looked at Maya. Lena was right. Maya nodded once. "Then they'll go after Lena," Marcus said. "Assume they already have." At the Hamilton Crown, Lena Ortiz received her warning at 10:15 a.m. She was in the housekeeping office folding assignment sheets when her supervisor, a narrow woman named Patrice, who rarely looked anyone in the eye when delivering bad news, asked her to step into the staff break room. Daniel Cross was not there. That told Lena the hotel wanted distance. A human resources manager she had never met sat at the small plastic table with a folder open in front of her. Caleb Rourke was also absent. That was supposed to make it feel less threatening. It did not. "Lena," the HR manager said, "we're reviewing staff conduct related to Monday evening's security incident." Lena stood near the door. "I was working my floor. We understand. But there are concerns you may have entered a restricted security area without authorization. I brought towels. That area was not on your assigned route. The towels were requested." "By whom?" Lena hesitated. No one had requested them. She had carried them as cover because she saw Maya through the glass and recognized something wrong. The HR manager made a note. "There are also concerns you may have communicated with a guest regarding internal security operations." Lena's stomach tightened. "I don't know what you mean." "We are not accusing you of anything at this stage." At this stage. Lena knew that phrase. Hotels loved phrases with soft edges. They sounded harmless until they cut hours from your schedule. Patrice looked down at the table. She was ashamed. Not enough to help, but enough to avoid witnessing herself. The HR manager slid a paper forward. "This is a written reminder of confidentiality obligations. You are instructed not to discuss Monday night's events with any guest, attorney, media representative, or external party. Violation may result in disciplinary action. up to and including termination. Lena stared at the paper. Her mother's medication cost $312 a month after insurance. Rent was due in 9 days. Her car needed brakes. Truth was expensive when you were paid hourly. "Am I fired?" she asked. "Not at this time. Are you cutting my hours? We are adjusting schedules during the review." Lena looked at Patrice. "How many hours?" Patrice's voice was barely audible. 20 this week." Lena normally worked 38. She picked up the paper with hands she refused to let shake. "Do you need me to sign?" "To acknowledge receipt." "Not agreement?" "Receipt." Lena signed. When she left the break room, the hallway seemed longer than before. At noon, Caleb Rourke appeared on a local radio show. Maya listened, because Marcus told her not to, and because even disciplined people sometimes need to know the shape of the lie being built against them. The host was a former city councilman with a loyal, older audience and a voice made for grievance. He introduced Caleb as a respected security professional, unfairly caught in a political storm. Caleb sounded tired but steady. That was dangerous. Anger would have hurt him. Weariness made him sympathetic. "I treated her like I would treat anyone in that situation," he said. "We had a theft. We had a restricted floor. We had someone without visible credentials refusing basic cooperation. I didn't know who she was. Frankly, that shouldn't matter. Security can't work if people think titles exempt them from rules." The host murmured agreement. Caleb continued. "Now I'm being called a racist because I did my job." Maya turned off the audio. Evelyn stood in the doorway. "You don't have to listen. I needed to hear whether he was scared." "Is he?" "No," Maya said. "He thinks he can survive by sounding reasonable." By late afternoon, the edited video was everywhere. A retired police official on television said Maya appeared non-compliant. A columnist asked why she had not simply shown identification. A panelist wondered aloud whether a young advisor had the temperament for senior public service. Maya did not respond. She sat with Evelyn and expanded the timeline. Every false statement got its own entry. Every media appearance. Every phrase. Unverified, individual, legitimate concern. Refused basic cooperation. No role of race. Standard protocol. Internal review. Words were evidence too, when they showed the pattern of concealment. At 6:12 p.m., Marcus called again. "I have the incident reports from the 2 supporting guards." Maya put him on speaker. "And they are nearly identical." Evelyn leaned forward. "How identical? Same sequence, same phrasing, same punctuation, same misspelling of belligerent. They both wrote it with an A after the G." Maya closed her eyes briefly. "Template, or coaching," Marcus said. "Either way, useful. Any mention that I gave my name? No. Any mention that I asked them to call the event desk? No. Any mention that Caleb told the concierge not to touch the phone? No." Maya opened her eyes. "Then, their omissions are admissions." Marcus's voice warmed slightly. "Careful. That's my line." For the first time all day, Evelyn smiled. Marcus continued. "We still need independent footage. Without it, they will keep muddying the water." Maya looked at the red coat witness in her memory, the woman near the fireplace, the voice that had said, "She has been calm the entire time." Somewhere, that woman had gone back to a room, or a home, or a life that allowed her to walk away from the lobby. Maybe she had convinced herself she had done enough by speaking once. Maybe she was afraid. Maybe she had recorded something. Maybe not. "And Lena?" Maya asked. "I haven't contacted her directly yet. I don't want to endanger her without protection. But we'll find a lawful way." Maya thought of the housekeeping cart, the lowered voice, the courage of a woman with more to lose than anyone in the room. "Do it carefully," she said. "I will." That evening, long after most offices had emptied, Maya walked alone to the building's small kitchen. She poured coffee she did not want and stood by the window while the city darkened. Her reflection looked older than 29. Not defeated, just marked by the speed at which institutions could turn a person into a controversy. Her phone buzzed with a message from her mother. "Mrs. Patterson brought cornbread. Reporters gone. Eat something." Maya smiled faintly despite herself. She typed back, "Yes, ma'am." Then another message arrived from an unknown number. "I work nights at Hamilton Crown. You don't know me. They are telling staff not to talk. Lena got written up today. Some of us saw what happened. We're scared." Maya stared at the screen. A second message followed. "But we remember." Maya did not answer. Not yet. Marcus would tell her not to. Chain of custody. Witness protection. No informal communication. But she saved the number. Took a screenshot. Sent it to Evelyn and Marcus with the time. Then, she stood in the dim kitchen, holding the phone, feeling the shape of the case shift again. The hotel had tried to bury the lobby camera. It had not counted on the people who cleaned the rooms, pushed the carts, poured the coffee, parked the cars, and saw everything Power thought happened offstage. For the first time since the edited video leaked, Maya felt something steadier than anger. She felt witnesses gathering in the dark. Marcus Reed did not call until the next morning. Maya had slept 3 hours, maybe less. She woke before sunrise with her phone on the nightstand, the leather bag on a chair across the room, and the feeling that she had been listening for something even in sleep. When the call came at 7:04 a.m., she answered before the second vibration. "We have the robot footage," Marcus said. Maya sat up. He did not sound triumphant. That told her the news was complicated. "How much?" she asked. "Enough to hurt them, not enough to finish them." By 8:10, Maya, Evelyn, and Marcus were in his conference room on K Street. The same whiteboard still held the timeline from their first meeting. New notes had been added in red. Leaked clip, missing lobby footage, duplicate reports, Lena warning, staff intimidation. On the table sat a laptop connected to a large monitor. Marcus waited until everyone was seated before he played the file. The image was low to the ground, slightly curved at the edges, moving with the smooth, indifferent glide of a machine designed to clean spills before guests noticed them. The lobby appeared from knee height. Polished shoes, chair legs, the bottom of luggage, the brass base of a velvet rope, the bright edge of the jewelry boutique. Then Maya entered the frame. For a moment, she saw herself as the robot had seen her. Not as an advisor, not as a controversy, just a woman standing near an elevator, one hand holding a phone, one hand near the strap of her bag. Caleb's shoes appeared first, then his body, as he stepped directly in front of her. There was no audio. Maya watched Caleb block her path. She watched herself angle slightly away, giving him space, not stepping toward him. She watched his hand rise and push against her shoulder, forcing her back from the elevator. Evelyn inhaled sharply. Marcus paused the video. "There," he said. "Initial contact." Maya said nothing. He played it again. The robot continued forward. Its camera angle shifted as it moved along the lobby path. Caleb's back partly blocked the view, but the sequence remained clear enough. Maya stood still. Caleb moved closer. 2 guards approached. One reached toward her bag. Maya held the strap but did not pull away. Then Caleb seized her arm and turned her. The robot passed behind a column for 3 seconds. When the image cleared, Maya was already being forced downward. The angle was partial. Caleb's body blocked the upper half of the scene, but the lower half told enough truth. Maya's knees touched the marble. One hand opened against the floor. Her other arm stayed controlled at her side. She did not strike. She did not twist. She did not lunge. Caleb moved over her with unmistakable force. Marcus paused the frame. Maya stared at the image of her own hand on the marble floor. She had remembered the cold. She had remembered the pressure. But seeing it from outside made the humiliation quieter and worse. There was no drama in the footage, no wild struggle for a viewer to hide behind. Only a man using power and a woman doing everything possible not to give him an excuse to use more. Evelyn's voice was low. "They said you created a scene." Marcus rewound the clip a few seconds. "The scene was created by the man standing over her." Maya finally spoke. "Can the public understand it without audio? They can understand the shove. They can understand who moved first. They can understand that the leaked clip was incomplete. But without audio, Caleb will say he gave lawful instructions and you refused. He'll say the force was a response to non-compliance. I did not resist. I know. This helps prove that. But it does not prove the words. People like you. Not yet. Evelyn leaned forward. What about the jewelry store camera? Still pending. Their counsel says the camera is owned by a third-party vendor tied to the boutique's insurer. That may be true, or it may be delay. I filed a preservation demand and subpoena draft this morning. Maya looked at the screen again. The robot footage resumed silently. A few guests stood nearby. Some watched. One person lifted a phone, but lowered it again. The woman in the red coat was visible only from the waist down near the fireplace. Maya marked the coat again in her mind. Can we release this? Evelyn asked. No, Marcus said immediately. Evelyn looked frustrated. Why not? They released a misleading clip. And if we release ours, we help them move the case into public editing contests. We hold it. We cite it if necessary. We use it to force testimony. The courtroom rewards patience more often than television does. Maya knew he was right. She hated that he was right. Marcus closed the video. There's more. He opened another file. It was a vendor report from the company that operated the cleaning robot. The robot had logged its path through the lobby at 7 hours, 37 minutes, and 52 seconds p.m., completed a turn near the executive elevator at 7 hours, 38 minutes, and 19 seconds, and uploaded visual navigation data to a cloud server at 7 hours, 41 minutes, and 3 seconds. The hotel doesn't store this data, Marcus said. The vendor does. That means Hamilton Crown could not erase it from their own system. Evelyn sat back. They forgot the machine had an outside memory. They forgot a lot of things, Marcus said. Mostly that buildings are full of witnesses people don't respect. Maya thought of Lena Ortiz pushing her cart through the basement. Does Lena know? Not from us. But her message was accurate. She gave us the right minute. She's already being punished for it. I know. Then we need to protect her. We will. Carefully. Maya's phone buzzed. A message from the unknown Hamilton Crown employee appeared on the screen. They moved Lena to night laundry. No guest floors. People say she talked. Maya showed Marcus the phone. He read the message, then said, "Send it to me. Do not respond." I know. Good. Evelyn looked at him. Can we contact her now? Marcus considered. Not directly from Maya. I'll send an investigator through proper channels. If Lena wants counsel, we arrange independent representation. I do not want the hotel claiming witness tampering. Maya looked down at her hands. She whispered the truth for me, and now she's paying for it. Marcus's voice softened. That is how retaliation works. It teaches everyone else to stay quiet. Then we make it expensive. He nodded. Yes, but we make it expensive correctly. That afternoon, Marcus's investigator confirmed what the text message had said. Lena Ortiz had been removed from regular housekeeping and reassigned to night laundry, a windowless basement room where linens arrived in gray bins and left folded for floors she was no longer allowed to enter. Her hours had been cut. Her supervisor had warned her not to discuss internal security matters with anyone outside the hotel. Maya asked Evelyn to find out whether Lena had family nearby, whether she needed food, whether there was a lawful way to help without contaminating her testimony. Evelyn made calls quietly, through community contacts, not through Maya's office, not through the White House, not through anyone who would turn compassion into a headline. At 5:30 p.m., Maya went to a small diner 3 blocks from Marcus's office. She had not planned to meet Lena there. Not officially. Marcus would have objected. But Evelyn had arranged for a labor advocate who knew Lena to be present, and Marcus had reluctantly sent a junior attorney to sit 2 booths away and ensure no one could later twist the contact into pressure. Lena arrived in a gray coat, her hair pulled back, her face tired with the fatigue of someone who had worked all night and worried all day. She stopped when she saw Maya. For a moment, neither woman spoke. Then Lena said, "I should not be here." Maya stood. "You do not have to stay." Lena looked toward the window. A bus passed outside, its brakes sighing at the corner. They cut my hours. I know. They say I went where I wasn't assigned. You went where the truth was. Lena's eyes filled, but she did not cry. Truth doesn't pay rent. No, Maya said. It doesn't. And I am sorry they made you carry that cost. Lena sat slowly. Maya sat across from her. A waitress in her 50s came by with coffee and called them both on, without asking anything. It was the kind of American kindness that did not announce itself. She filled the cups and left them alone. Lena wrapped both hands around the mug. "I'm not strong like you, Miss Williams." Maya looked at her across the table, at the uniform marks still faintly visible around her collar, at the hands rough from bleach and folded sheets. "I am not as strong as they think," Maya said. "I just learned not to let them see me shake." Lena looked up then. Maya continued, "You have more to lose than I do. That makes what you did braver, not smaller." Lena swallowed. "I saw him put you down. People watched. Nobody moved. Some people freeze. Some people choose." Maya did not disagree. Lena lowered her voice. The lobby camera didn't fail. Maya stilled. Lena glanced toward the junior attorney 2 booths away, then back at Maya. "I don't know how to prove it, but the night manager said it was working after. I heard him tell maintenance the server excuse was coming from upstairs." "Who said that?" "Tony Bell. Night operations. He's scared. He has 2 years to retirement." Maya stored the name. Tony Bell. Night operations. Retirement risk. Possible witness. Lena took a breath. "There's something else. Mr. Cross came down after you left. He told Caleb not to write anything else until legal fixed the language." Maya's hand tightened around her coffee cup. "Exact words?" she asked. Lena thought carefully. "He said, 'No more cowboy language. Legal will clean it.'" Maya's attorney mind went cold again. The robot had seen what people refused to see. Lena had heard what the hotel hoped would stay below ground. Maya did not smile. She simply nodded. "They moved you to night laundry because they know you matter," she said. Lena looked at her. "Do I?" "Yes. Outside, evening settled over the street. Inside, the diner lights warmed the table between them. For the first time, Maya understood that the case would not be won by one perfect video. It would be built from partial truths gathered by people the Hamilton Crown had trained itself to overlook. A cleaning robot, a housekeeper, a night manager near retirement, a waitress who knew when not to interrupt, a frightened employee sending messages from the dark. Power had made its first mistake when it put Maya on the floor. Its second was assuming only important people could become witnesses. The first old complaint arrived through a former Bell captain named Walter Haynes. He was 59, retired early after a knee replacement, and still angry enough to answer Marcus Reed's investigator on the second call. Walter had worked at the Hamilton Crown for 21 years, long enough to know which carpets were replaced before presidential visits, which senators tipped badly, and which managers smiled hardest when they were lying. Marcus played the recording for Maya and Evelyn the next morning in his conference room. Walter's voice came through rough, southern, and tired. "You want to know if that hotel had a Caleb problem? No. That hotel had a belonging problem. Caleb just gave it a uniform." Maya sat very still. Marcus paused the audio. "That sentence is going in my notes." He pressed play again. Walter described a black cardiologist from Atlanta stopped twice in one weekend because security thought he was waiting too long near the elevators. A retired Army colonel asked to show room identification while standing beside his white golfing partners, none of whom were questioned. A Jamaican-American florist delivering arrangements for a charity luncheon told to use the loading dock even though she had been instructed to come through the lobby. A nurse practitioner in town for a medical conference followed from the bar to the ladies' room by a guard who later wrote that she seemed out of place. Maya listened without interrupting. Each story was small enough to be dismissed alone and large enough to become a map together. Marcus stopped the recording when Walter began coughing. "We have 6 former employees willing to speak off the record. 2 may go on record if protected. 3 current employees have sent information anonymously. One of them pointed us toward Tony Bell, a technician who handles the hotel's surveillance servers. Tony hasn't agreed to talk yet, but he has not refused either." Evelyn looked at the whiteboard. "This is bigger than Caleb." "It was always bigger than Caleb," Marcus said. "Now we can prove the hotel knew." Maya leaned forward. "Show me." Marcus opened a folder and spread printed emails across the table. "These came from a former assistant manager who left last year. We still need authentication, but they appear legitimate." The first email was from Daniel Cross to senior lobby staff 3 months before the incident. With high-profile political and donor events increasing this season, we need tighter control of the executive lobby. Security should be proactive in identifying individuals who do not appear to belong near restricted access points. Maya read the sentence twice. Do not appear to belong. It had the soft hands of corporate language and the same dirty work as Caleb's voice. Evelyn said, "That phrase again." Marcus nodded. Belonging is their operating principle. Not credentials, not behavior, appearance. He placed another email beside it. This one had been sent after a complaint from a black guest who said he had been asked for his room key 3 times in one evening. Please remind staff that discretion is essential. We cannot make every lobby inquiry feel like an accusation, but we must maintain the Hamilton Crown atmosphere. Our clientele expects a certain standard. Maya looked up. A certain standard. No race language, Marcus said. They're too careful for that. But juries understand coded language when the pattern is strong enough. The third email was shorter. We need security that can identify who belongs here and who doesn't. Daniel Cross had written it himself. Maya felt the quiet return inside her, the same cold clarity that had come to her on the marble floor. That's the spine. Marcus looked at her. Yes. Evelyn's phone buzzed. She glanced down, then frowned. News alert. Hamilton Crown just announced an independent internal review, led by a former federal magistrate. Marcus smiled without amusement. That means they are scared, or trying to look responsible. Same family. Maya read the alert. The hotel promised transparency, dignity, and a full review of security procedures. Daniel Cross was quoted saying the Hamilton Crown had always welcomed guests of every background. Maya set the phone down. They welcome every background after checking whether the background matches the wallpaper. Marcus almost smiled, then returned to the files. There's more on Caleb. He opened another folder. Caleb Rourke's history looked heavier on paper than it had in rumor. During his years in law enforcement, he had accumulated 14 civilian complaints. None had resulted in serious discipline. Several used the same structure. Vague suspicion, aggressive stop, refusal to explain basis, report claiming non-compliance. 9 involved Black or Latino complainants. 3 involved professional adults who were later found to have every right to be where they were. Maya read the summaries. A Black accountant stopped outside his own office building after working late. A Latino father questioned in a parking garage while waiting for his wife after a hospital shift. A Black graduate student detained near a courthouse because she matched a vague description that had already been cleared. How did Hamilton Crown hire him? Evelyn asked. Marcus slid over a hiring memo. Daniel Cross had approved the recommendation. Candidate brings strong law enforcement instincts and firm command presence. Prior complaints appear consistent with the realities of proactive street-level policing. Recommended for executive security leadership. Maya stared at the words, proactive, street-level policing. He was not a risk to them, she said. He was the product they wanted. Marcus nodded. Exactly. The room went quiet. For Maya, the case shifted again. Caleb's hand on the back of her neck had been personal. The email in front of her was architectural. The hotel had built a culture with polished floors above and ugly assumptions below. Caleb had not wandered into it. He had been hired to enforce it. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Marcus saw her glance at it. Let it go to voicemail. She did. A moment later, a message appeared. Maya forwarded it to Marcus without opening. He played it on speaker. A man's voice, low and strained. This is Tony Bell. I work nights at the Crown. I don't want trouble. I got 2 years left before retirement. But the hotel is lying to the press. The lobby cameras didn't experience a technical failure. Not the way they're saying. I saw the server logs right after the incident. Management manually wiped the backup files to protect Caleb. It's spoliation. I can't talk on my hotel phone. Don't call this number again. The message ended. Evelyn whispered, God. Marcus immediately saved the file, then copied it to a secure folder. We do nothing impulsive. I'll have an investigator contact him through counsel if possible. Maya looked at the phone. He sounds terrified. He is? Marcus said. Fear has a penchant too. The sentence landed hard. Maya thought of Tony Bell counting 2 years, putting his entire pension on the line just to leave a voicemail. Elaine, counting mortgage payments years ago. Raymond counting bus shifts in Detroit winters. Systems did not only use force, they used bills, benefits, schedules, references, retirement plans. They made truth compete with survival. Justice is not fair, Maya said quietly, when only the powerful can afford to prove they were wronged. Marcus looked up from his notes. Evelyn stopped typing. Maya had not meant to speak the line aloud, but once said, "It belonged in the room." Marcus wrote it down. That may be the case. By noon, the floodgates had burst. The investigator's phone didn't stop ringing as more stories poured into the office. A rideshare driver ordered out of the lobby while waiting for a disabled guest. A traveling nurse followed to the elevator and asked if she was with housekeeping. A retired Marine interrogated at the bar, while his white colleagues were ignored. Different names, different professions, but the exact same blueprint of humiliation. Some had complained at the time. Some had let it go to avoid the headache, but none of them had forgotten. That afternoon, Maya returned to her White House office for a meeting that had nothing and everything to do with the case. The policy rollout remained paused. The deputy counsel spoke carefully. Communications wanted distance. Legislative affairs wanted time. Senator Whitmore wanted the votes protected. Everyone said they believed Maya. Everyone also wanted the story to become quieter. Maya listened. When they finished, she said, "The hotel's internal emails used the language my proposal was designed to confront. Their security director had prior complaints. Current staff are being discouraged from speaking. At least one witness says footage was altered after the event. If we pause now because the example is politically inconvenient, we are admitting the policy only matters in theory." The room did not answer. Finally, the communications advisor said, "Maya, the concern is optics." She looked at him. "Optics put me on the floor." His face reddened. Senator Whitmore, on speakerphone, gave a low cough that might have hidden a laugh. Then she said, "Let her finish." Maya continued, "I am not asking the White House to litigate my case. I am asking you not to bury the work because the work became real." The deputy counsel folded his hands. "No one is burying it." Then stop lowering the lights. After the meeting, Senator Whitmore called Maya directly. "You were hard on them," the senator said. "They were soft on the truth." Whitmore was quiet for a moment. "That line will make enemies. I already have enemies." "Yes, but now you are organizing them." Maya walked past a window where evening settled over the south lawn. "Are you telling me to stop?" "No. I am telling you to understand the price." "I do." "Not yet," Whitmore said. "But you will." Maya accepted that. Older women in Washington rarely warned younger women for sport. When she returned to Marcus's office that evening, the whiteboard had changed. The incident timeline remained on the left. On the right, Marcus had created a second column, pattern. Under it were names, dates, complaints, emails, phrases, who belongs here, certain standard, proactive, wrong person, unverified, street looking, executive atmosphere. Maya stood before the board for a long time. Caleb had thought he was guarding an elevator. Daniel Cross had thought he was guarding a brand. The hotel had thought it could polish prejudice until it looked like procedure. But now the words were gathered in one place. They no longer hid inside memos, whispered complaints, private humiliations, and employee warnings. They stood together, and together they had weight. Marcus came to stand beside her. "This is how institutions lose," he said. "Not all at once. First one sentence, then a second, then a witness, then a pattern. Then the thing they called isolated starts looking like policy." Maya looked at the board. For the first time since the night at the Hamilton Crown, she understood the true size of the fight. The lawsuit would not only ask what Caleb did to her, it would ask who taught him to believe he could. And somewhere in the answer, the hotel's marble lobby had begun to crack. Margaret Ellis waited 3 days before she called. She would later tell Marcus Reed she had picked up the phone 6 times and set it down 7. She was 67, a retired civics teacher from Dayton, Ohio. and she had spent 38 years telling students that citizenship was not a feeling. It was an obligation. Still, obligation felt different when cable news trucks were involved. She had come to Washington on a winter trip with 2 women from her church book club. They had saved for it through bake sales, discount fares, and the kind of careful planning older women used when they had spent their lives making paychecks stretch. They stayed 2 nights at the Hamilton Crown because one of them had found a reduced rate through a travel site. Margaret had been standing near the fireplace in her red coat on the night Maya Williams was stopped. She had seen Caleb step in front of her. She had heard the first insult. She had lifted her phone, not because she was brave, but because something in her teacher's bones had told her that people lied less easily when there was a record. Then Caleb put Maya on the floor, and Margaret froze. That was the part that kept her awake. She called Marcus's office at 9:22 on a Thursday morning. The receptionist transferred her to an intake paralegal. Margaret gave her name, then paused so long the young woman asked if she was still there. "I have a video," Margaret said. By noon, she was sitting in Marcus Reed's conference room with both hands wrapped around a paper cup of tea she had not drunk. Maya arrived with Evelyn 10 minutes later. Marcus had warned her not to overwhelm the witness, so Maya stopped just inside the door and waited. Margaret stood immediately. She was small, straight-backed, and dressed carefully in a gray wool skirt and navy cardigan. Her red coat hung over the chair behind her. Her white hair was pinned neatly, and her face carried the strain of someone who had rehearsed an apology all morning and still did not trust it to come out right. "Miss Williams," she said, "I'm Margaret Ellis. I was in the lobby." Maya stepped forward. "Thank you for coming." Margaret's mouth trembled once. "I should have come sooner." Maya did not rush to comfort her. False comfort could cheapen courage. "You came now." Margaret looked down at the table. "I watched it happen. I said something once. Not enough," I said. "She has been calm the entire time." Then he told me to step back, and I did. The room stayed quiet. "I taught government for 38 years, Margaret continued. "I made teenagers memorize the Bill of Rights. I told them rights only matter when ordinary people defend them. Then I stood in a hotel lobby and let a man make me ordinary in the worst way." Maya's voice softened. "Fear does that." "Yes," Margaret said, "but so does comfort." Marcus sat at the head of the table. "Mrs. Ellis, may I ask about the video?" She nodded and took out her phone. Her hand shook slightly as she unlocked it. "I started recording after he first spoke to her. I didn't get the very first words clearly, but I got enough. There's sound. It's not steady." My thumb covered part of the screen for a second. "I'm sorry." "Don't apologize for evidence," Marcus said. He connected her phone to the monitor with her permission. The file opened. The video began at an angle, showing the lower half of the fireplace, a brass table, the edge of Margaret's red sleeve. Then the frame lifted and found Maya near the executive elevators. Caleb stood close. Too close. His voice came through clearly enough despite the lobby noise. "People like you don't walk into a hotel like this unless they're looking for something to take." Maya stood still in the frame. "I am scheduled to speak upstairs," she said. "Check the guest list. You can tell that story downstairs. I have identified myself. Call the event desk. You're refusing to cooperate." "I am not refusing verification. You are refusing to verify." Marcus did not pause the video, but Maya felt him shift beside her. The recording continued. The younger guard reached toward Maya's bag. Maya's voice remained calm. "Do not touch my bag. I do not consent to a search." Caleb raised his voice. "She's refusing to cooperate." Then came Margaret's own voice from behind the camera, older and strained. "She has been calm the entire time." Caleb turned toward the lens. His face filled the frame for half a second. "Ma'am, step back and let security handle this." The camera dipped. Margaret's breath came close to the microphone. The image blurred, then lifted again just as Caleb took Maya by the arm. The angle was partial, but the sound was clear. "I am not resisting," Maya said. "Down," Caleb ordered. "I am not resisting." "Down." The video shook. Someone gasped. The frame caught Maya going to her knees, Caleb behind her, one hand forcing her lower. Margaret whispered, almost to herself, "Oh Lord." Then the clip ended. No one spoke. Maya stared at the blank screen after the video stopped. Hearing her own voice from outside herself did something the robot footage had not done. It proved not only what happened, but how she had survived it, calmly, clearly, without giving Caleb one honest excuse. Evelyn wiped one tear from her cheek with the heel of her hand and looked furious that the tear had escaped. Marcus removed his glasses and set them on the table. "Mrs. Ellis, do you understand what this is?" Margaret nodded slowly. "I think so. This changes the case." Her eyes moved to Maya. "Will it help?" "Yes," Maya said. "It already has." Margaret sat down, as if her knees had finally stopped pretending. Marcus spoke gently. "We will need to preserve the original file. My staff will make a forensic copy with your consent. We will document chain of custody. You may be contacted for a statement or deposition. We can discuss protections and what that means before anything happens." Margaret nodded. "I'll do it. You don't have to decide this second. I decided when I called." Her voice steadied. "I was late, Mr. Reed. I don't intend to be late twice." Maya sat across from her. "Can I ask why you came forward now?" Margaret looked at her red coat on the chair. "Because I watched the news say you were difficult. I watched a man on television ask why you didn't simply cooperate. I heard them talk as if obedience would have made him see you correctly." She looked down at her hands. "I taught my students that the law does not ask the innocent to become smaller so the powerful can feel safer." Maya felt those words settle deep. "My husband was a postal worker," Margaret continued. "Black man, gentleman, wore his uniform like Sunday clothes. He got stopped once outside a bank while delivering certified mail. Someone said he looked suspicious. He came home and told me it was nothing, but he sat in the garage for 40 minutes before he came inside." Her voice thinned, but did not break. "When I saw that man put his hand on your neck, I thought of Walter sitting in that garage. I should have moved sooner." Maya reached across the table, not touching her hand until Margaret gave a small nod. Then, Maya covered it lightly. "You spoke when it mattered," Maya said. "That still counts." Margaret looked at her for a long moment. Then she nodded once, like a woman accepting a sentence she might someday believe. By mid-afternoon, Marcus had the forensic copy secured, time-stamped, and backed up in 3 places. He did not release the video publicly. Not yet. Instead, he sent a letter to Hamilton Crown's counsel, describing the existence of independent audiovisual evidence that contradicted the hotel's statements and demanding immediate disclosure of all unedited footage, access logs, communications, and incident reports. The reply came faster than expected. Hotel counsel requested an urgent call. Marcus put them on speaker with Maya and Evelyn listening silently. The hotel's attorney, Bradley Sloan, had a voice smooth enough to bill in 6-minute increments. "Marcus, we need to avoid unnecessary escalation here." Marcus leaned back. "Your client accused mine of theft, detained her, leaked edited footage, claimed the main camera failed, and allowed statements implying she refused verification. Escalation is not the future. It is the record. We are reviewing all available materials. You will produce all available materials. There are privacy concerns involving guests. We can redact faces. Do not hide behind guests after humiliating my client in front of them." A pause. Then Sloan said, "What exactly do you have?" Marcus looked at Maya. She gave the smallest nod. "We have independent video with audio," he said. "It captures Mr. Rourke saying, 'People like you don't walk into a hotel like this unless they're looking for something to take.' It captures Miss Williams identifying herself and requesting that staff check the guest list. It captures her stating she was not resisting before force was used." Silence. For the first time since the case began, the silence came from their side. Sloan cleared his throat. "Send it over." "No, Marcus. You will receive it in litigation or settlement posture, not as a courtesy preview to help your client manufacture new language. That's not productive." "It is extremely productive. It keeps the truth from being workshopped." After the call ended, Evelyn let out the breath she had been holding. Maya remained seated, looking at the dark monitor where Margaret's video had played. The case had sound now. Caleb's words were no longer memory. Maya's calm was no longer claim. The lobby's silence was no longer invisible. By evening, without the video being released, the air around the Hamilton Crown had changed. Marcus's letter had done what evidence often did before trial. It moved through legal channels like a storm warning. Hotel counsel knew. Daniel Cross knew. Caleb would soon know. Every person who had used phrases like standard protocol and unverified individual would have to reread them against the sound of Caleb's own voice. Maya left Marcus's office after sunset. Outside, Washington was cold and bright with headlights. Evelyn walked beside her without speaking. At the curb, Maya paused and looked back up at the building where Margaret Ellis had handed over the one thing the hotel could not polish. "What are you thinking?" Evelyn asked. Maya pulled her coat tighter. "That people always say truth comes to light." Evelyn waited. "But sometimes," Maya said, "an old woman in a red coat has to carry it there." They stepped into the waiting car. Behind them, in Marcus Reed's office, the video was saved, copied, logged, and locked. The next phase of the war had begun. The public announcement came the next morning, and this time Hamilton Crown could not hide behind careful language. The statement was posted on the hotel's website at 8 a.m., sent to every major newsroom by 8:03, and read aloud on national television before most of Washington had finished its first cup of coffee. Hamilton Crown Hospitality Group acknowledged that Maya Williams had been wrongfully detained, that race and appearance had played a role in the treatment she received, and that its own internal response had failed to meet the standards of truth, dignity, and accountability. It was not poetry. It was not repentance. It was legal language forced to kneel before fact. But it was public. Maya watched from her mother's kitchen in Detroit. She had flown there late the night before. Not for strategy, not for interviews, not for celebration, but because Elaine Williams had said, "Come home before the country starts talking again." So Maya came. She arrived after midnight, carrying the old leather bag, and found her mother waiting with soup on the stove and cornbread wrapped in foil. Elaine did not ask for the details right away. She fed her first. Now they sat at the small kitchen table, while the television murmured from the counter. Outside, the street was quiet under a pale morning sky. Mrs. Patterson's curtains were already open across the road, which meant she was awake and monitoring the neighborhood as if appointed by God. The anchor read the settlement terms. $7.8 million. No non-disclosure agreement. Termination of Caleb Rourke for cause. Resignation of Daniel Cross. Reinstatement and compensation for Lena Ortiz. Mandatory civil rights training. 5 years of independent audits. Public reporting of security complaints. A $2 million legal support fund. A bronze plaque to be installed near the executive elevators. Elaine stirred her coffee slowly. "They said all that on television?" "Yes, ma'am." "And nobody made you whisper it?" "No." Elaine nodded once. She looked toward the framed photograph of Raymond Williams on the sideboard. In the picture, he was standing in his bus driver's uniform, cap tucked under one arm, smile tired but proud. "She held the door," Elaine said softly. Maya looked at her mother. Elaine did not explain. She did not need to. By noon, Caleb Rourke's name was no longer attached to command. Hamilton Crown confirmed his termination for cause. He released no apology. His attorney called the settlement disappointing and unfair, but the old recordings, the robot footage, Margaret's video, the internal emails, and the duplicate reports had already done what apologies rarely did. They had shown the country the difference between a mistake and a method. Daniel Cross announced his resignation in a letter full of polished regret. He wrote about leadership, responsibility, and transition. He did not write about the sentence that had ended him. "Find a way to make her look unstable before this turns into a racial story." But America had already read it. There were some words no resignation letter could bury. Lena Ortiz returned to work 2 weeks later, not to the night laundry room, but to her old floor schedule with back pay, independent counsel, and a settlement of her own. Maya called her the evening before her first shift back. "Are you nervous?" Maya asked. Lena laughed quietly, terrified. "Do you want me to make a call?" "No. I want to walk in by myself." Maya understood. "Then walk in slow." I will. And Lena? Yes? You changed this case. Lena was silent for a moment. I only told what I saw. That is what changed it. Margaret Ellis went home to Ohio and returned to her church book club with more attention than she wanted. A local paper called her a hero. She corrected the reporter twice. I was a witness, she said. Hero is a word people use when they want to forget how many chances ordinary folks have to do the right thing. When Maya sent her a handwritten note, Margaret framed it beside an old class photo from her final year of teaching. The Williams Ortiz Dignity Fund opened 3 months after the settlement. Maya refused to let it become a ceremonial charity with expensive brochures and no teeth. The fund provided legal consultations for workers, guests, patients, drivers, delivery workers, nurses, aides, travelers, and anyone humiliated or detained in spaces where private authority acted like law without accountability. Its first office was not in a glass tower. It was in a modest building near a bus line, with a coffee pot in the corner and chairs sturdy enough for people who arrived tired. At the opening, Maya did not give a long speech. Elaine sat in the front row. Lena sat beside her. Margaret came from Ohio wearing the red coat. Senator Whitmore stood in the back, arms folded, watching like a woman who had seen many victories and trusted only the ones that left paperwork behind. Maya stepped to the microphone. My father used to say, when you walk through a door, hold it open for someone behind you. This fund exists because too many people are still stopped at doors they have every right to enter. We cannot promise that injustice will not happen, but we can promise that when it does, no one should have to stand alone with only their memory against an institution's denial. That was all. It was enough. 6 months after the night at the Hamilton Crown, Maya returned to the hotel. She did not announce it. She did not bring cameras. She did not ask Marcus to come. Evelyn offered, but Maya said no. This part she needed to do alone. The taxi dropped her at the front entrance just after 5 p.m. Washington was turning gold in the late afternoon light. Guests moved through the revolving doors with garment bags, briefcases, rolling suitcases, dinner reservations, private worries. The doorman, an older black man with silver hair and a careful smile, opened the door for Maya. Good evening, ma'am. Good evening, she said. He recognized her. She saw it in his eyes, but he did not make a scene. He simply held the door a little wider. Inside, the lobby looked almost the same. The chandelier still burned bright. The marble still shone. The fireplace still glowed beneath its carved mantel. The bar still carried the low music of money and habit. But Caleb was not there. Daniel was not there. The air felt different. Not cleansed. Not innocent. But aware. Maya walked toward the executive elevators. No one stopped her. Near the brass doors, mounted on the wall at eye level, was the plaque. Dignity is not determined by appearance. The letters were cut deep into bronze. Beneath them, in smaller type, was a commitment to equal treatment, public accountability, and civil rights in guest and staff interactions. Maya read every word. Legal language again. Institutional language. But this time it did not hide the harm. It marked it. She stood there for a long moment. She remembered the cold floor. Caleb's hand at the back of her neck. The false report. Lena's whisper. Margaret's shaking video. Elaine's voice from Detroit. Marcus's whiteboard. Evelyn's steady fury. The janitor after midnight, telling her not to let them wear her down. She did not feel triumph. Triumph was too simple. What she felt was weight. And beneath it, movement. The elevator doors opened with a soft chime. A housekeeper stepped out, pushing a cart of folded towels. She was young, tired, and focused on her work. Behind her came an older man in a driver's cap carrying a guest's garment bag. A woman with gray braids and a flower delivery walked past the concierge desk without being redirected to a service entrance. Near the fireplace, a black couple in travel clothes checked their room key and laughed quietly about dinner. No one lowered their eyes. Maya stepped back from the plaque and let them pass first. The housekeeper glanced at her, then at the plaque, then back again. Recognition flickered, shy and uncertain. Maya gave her a small nod. The woman straightened slightly and pushed the cart forward. Only then did Maya enter the elevator. As the doors closed, she looked once more at the lobby. The floor had not vanished. The memory had not softened. Justice had not returned the night that was taken from her. But it had changed what the next person would have to carry through that room. And sometimes, Maya thought, that was how a door stayed open. The lesson of Maya Williams's story is simple, but not easy. Dignity should never depend on how a person looks, what they wear, how old they are, or whether someone in power thinks they belong. Justice does not begin only in courtrooms. Sometimes it begins with one calm voice, one witness who refuses to stay silent, one record that cannot be erased, and one person brave enough to say, "No, you will not rename what happened to me." Thank you for staying with us until the end of this story. Your time, your attention, and your heart mean more than words can say. If this story moved you, please let us know what you think about the way it was told. Your comments help us improve the storytelling, the pacing, and the emotion of each episode. And if you have a powerful true story, a family story, or an experience about injustice, courage, kindness, or justice finally being served, please share it with the channel. Your story may be the one that gives someone else the strength to keep going. This video is a work of fiction created with the assistance of artificial intelligence. All characters, events, and situations are not real and do not represent any actual people or true stories. The content is intended for storytelling and emotional illustration only.